chilling on the beach waiting for the next State of Play or Nintendo Direct. It's a Slice of Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Moonlight150, and this is a Slice of Gaming episode for January 26, 2024. And we'd like to thank you for giving a slice of your time to a Slice of Gaming podcast. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at A Slice of Gaming. And make sure to check out our other shows, A Slice of Anime, and our other videos, such as the Batman Arkham review that we just posted this past week. So it's a lot of heavy news this week in the world of the video game industry, and we're here to go over it all because there really wasn't much else except for the depressing news. So to work through it all, I got the other co-host today. He plays Bayonetta for the story. It's Dark.
Hey, how's it going?
Here comes a new challenger. It's Wolf.
And a freak plays Bayonetta for the story.
Yo, why are you judging Bayonetta's story? What the fuck is this?
The story's ass.
It was
I
a
love
good
Bayonetta,
story.
but that story
You
is
had a
ass.
good
You are
story.
insane. You are insane for that.
We'll
take.
get into
I
it
want
later.
you to know. Oh, okay.
He's perplexed by a pixelated purple picture. It's Fusion.
Okay, dude. I still can't. I don't know what the indie
I don't know
is.
what it is. It's
I don't
FNAF,
know.
bro. It's
Mina
FNAF.
the Hollower? That's my best guess.
It's only
And the self-proclaimed Sony pony himself, Bench.
Happy to be here.
So I already ran through the intro. And so what this episode is, we're going to go through the quick news, and then we're going to have our topic. Last week we talked about our projections, our ideas, and everything that we think is going to be happening with Xbox this year. This week it's all about Sony and PlayStation. Next week will be about Nintendo. So we're going to be moving on to that once we get through the news with Wolf.
Oh, yeah, that's right too. What's up? Yeah, it's a pretty. It was actually a pretty small news week, and then yesterday happened, so then it kind of turned into a bit of a bigger one. But overall, like some just small updates here and there, so kind of allows us to focus a lot more on our topic. But our big news update relates to a bunch of layoffs. I kind of just put all the layoffs together. But the first one, the biggest one, is Microsoft, and I'm going to read through the story from Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft lays off 1,900 Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox employees. Microsoft is laying off 1,900 employees at Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox this week, while Microsoft is primarily laying off roles at Activision and Blizzard. Some Xbox and ZeniMax employees will also be impacted by the cuts. The cuts worked out to roughly 8% of the overall Microsoft gaming divisions that stands at around 22,000 employees in total. The Verge has obtained an internal memo from Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer that confirms the layoffs. And then he puts in a memo about the whole layoffs, but alongside the layoffs, Blizzard president Mike Ybarra has decided to leave the company. Quote, as many of you know, Mike previously spent more than 20 years at Microsoft. Now that he has seen the acquisition through as Blizzard's president, he has decided to leave the company, says Microsoft's game content and studios president Matt Booty in an internal memo. Microsoft plans to name a new Blizzard president next week. Alan Adham, Blizzard's chief design officer, is also leaving the company as one of Blizzard's co-founders. Alan has had a broad impact on all of Blizzard's games. His influence will be felt for years to come, both directly and indirectly, as Alan plans to continue mentoring young designers across the industry. So pretty big thing kind of just happened on a Thursday morning out of nowhere. Now, this was kind of expected. Obviously, because of the merger, you're going to have to get rid of redundant jobs. Like, this is just kind of a noticeable thing across the industry when you're doing a big, massive corporate merger like this. But they definitely laid off a lot more than just the redundant jobs if it's 1,900. I'm obviously just anti-layoffs. I don't know. Kind of a hot take, I guess. But I guess I just want to bring it over to you guys, what you think of this.
I think we expected layoffs with this merger. However, I think it's also obvious that Microsoft took it upon themselves to do more than that was necessary. And while layoffs are always bad, I mean, you can make an argument it's detrimental to the company's actual survival, but Microsoft also just had the recent news of $3 trillion company. On top of, as far as we know, none of the executives are taking a pay cut, and that makes it hard to jump in the defense of this.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you in that regard. I mean, Fusion, do you have any thoughts on that? Just off it.
Yeah, for one, I hope everyone who did get laid off has a chance to find a new place, find something, find a new job. It just sucks for everyone that's involved. First and foremost, the people that are affected are the ones we should be worried about, not the corporation, not anything else that matters in this, not not the dude that did the fire, like the people that were affected, that got fired, that got laid off yesterday, and like already throughout the years, like I've been seeing tweets where it's like we're up to like 6,000 already or something insane. And it's January 26th. Yeah, like it's January 26th and we're already at like 6,000.
And last year was the
jobs.
record year for layoffs at 10K.
Yeah, so like the fact that we're already like we're over half that number already, and it's 3 weeks into the year. But besides that, it's just like it was going to happen. We always knew it was like it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be this big, like the 1900, and I doubt Microsoft at the time thought it was going to be this much. I'm not sure, like, I'm sure they went through this thing and they were like, okay, we're going to have to lay some people off. But when they sat there and looked and they're like, wow, actually 1900, they probably were not thinking it was going to be that much. And they probably thought it was going to be like, 200 or maybe somewhere in that ballpark. And I feel like they got a lot more than they wanted to. I know some people say it's cleaning house and from like the Activision stuff and like some bad apples in the company. 1,900 people, you cannot sit here and convince me that even 1% of that 1,900 people are the bad apples. Like that's just you can't convince me otherwise. It's just it really sucks.
The bad apples were probably the executives that are still there.
Yeah. Like exactly, the bad apples that were in charge are going to still be there because why not? Because they make all the money and they make the world go round. But I think this one just it's for one, it's up there because of the acquisition that happened. It was a $70 billion acquisition, which had more eyes on it. And so many people around the industry were like, this is going to be better for all these people at Activision. This is going to be better for both sides. This is like Microsoft taking over and taking that toxic work culture out. Like, it can still happen, but I felt like not enough people talked about at the time the layoffs that were going to happen. Like, because people were just so excited at some point about just like the games coming to Game Pass and everything else, and Microsoft owning Activision and all these IPs, which is like cool, get excited for that stuff. But there's a whole other side that's just dark and sucks for these people that work there. Like people make the games. They always make the game. We always talk about the people who make these games. But when the people make the games, it's like when they get laid off or fired or let go, it's like half the people in the industry feel like they don't care. They only care about the product, the game they're getting, but they don't care about the people behind the games. And it's like, this is going to continue to happen until we get unions, until like the video game industry can like grow into something that's going to be more sustainable. I don't know, like sustainable. Like something has to happen, some change has to happen. But I like I said, it's just the people who got laid off are the people that should be on everyone's minds. Everything else is secondary. Like how we have to fix this, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that, but like, and I understand it happens a lot, and Microsoft's taking a lot more blame than normal. But I just think it's the size and it's everything that's happening in the news. Like I understand the Xbox division isn't a $3 trillion company, but Microsoft, that owns Xbox, is a $3 trillion company, and there's a lot more people in Microsoft and Xbox that make millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that could take some pay cuts to keep these people, but they never will.
And I also think that something that made this especially egregious, this probably happened with other layoffs, but this is definitely more public, which makes, unfortunately, it more apparent, that we know Activision Blizzard has really been pushing getting everyone back into the office in the last 6 months. And from Twitter, we know that a lot of people that have been laid off moved in the last, 3 months, and now they uprooted their family and don't have that job.
No notice or anything, yeah. I was gonna bring that up. I mean, I've been saying this for months. Like, it's gonna keep getting worse. This is a overcorrection from COVID. What happened was that COVID happened. A lot of companies went on massive hiring streaks. They were like, we need employees because the industry is booming, and they didn't they didn't project accordingly to what would happen post COVID, and the profits are down. Profits are down. Well, we need to get costs back somehow. How do you get costs back? Get rid of the thing that costs the most money, labor. And at the end of the day, this type of thing is expected. But I feel like there are much better ways to go across with it. Maybe notify the employees more ahead of time, or do something in regards to severance packages in any way to try to make these layoffs. I understand they're inevitable, especially like now, post-COVID era. But They do not have to be this brutal. That's all I want from Xbox and just every company that's doing layoffs in general. Like, let's try to figure out a way to make these less aggressive, less brutal. I don't want to be depressed every news week as I'm playing Tekken 8 and then I just hear another story about another company laying off employees.
And nobody
Uh,
made the rule that you have to find out and be laid off that day. There's no rule saying that. You can give people
Yeah.
a heads up. You can help them find new jobs, but obviously they have no interest in doing that.
It's a big thing. So apparently I learned about this. It's hard to give heads up because according to them, it's like, oh, well, stock price will go down because they'll know that they're being laid off eventually. Okay. So
Really,
like
yeah.
it's ridiculous. There are humans behind these games, and it sucks that they're being treated this way. I do have a few more bullet points.
Oh wait, I
This
wanna
comes from.
touch on
Oh
it
yeah,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
So this is my personal take on it. Right? I think that yes, first and foremost, of course, this sucks. This is terrible things to happen to anybody. Losing your job, it's the worst thing that can possibly happen. But I wanted to look more into the layoffs in the industry as a whole because if you guys have been paying attention, there's been layoffs left and right. And like you did mention before, it is because of COVID. So I was looking at Microsoft specifically since this was the big news topic. During COVID, Microsoft hired over 70,000 people, which is fucking insane numbers. And of course, and then last year around this time, of those 70,000 people, because COVID was coming to an end, alongside the aftermath of the Bethesda deal, which just closed recently, so this was often 5 or so years, they had to lay off 10,000 people. Now that the Activision deal ended in late last year, they instantly just got like 17 to 18,000 people, and they weren't prepared for this whatsoever. This very much feels like a last minute decision where like I don't think they planned it out. Even with like the Game Pass situation, because everybody expected Game Pass games to come out right away. They were like, we didn't get time to plan any of this out because they were too busy dealing with the FTC court case, which dragged on far longer than it should have. I think
Yeah, go ahead.
I think when you look at it in a bubble and you're like, oh, 1,900 people, oh, it's fucked up. And of course it is. I'm not saying it's not. When you look at it, the bigger picture of how many people Microsoft just hired, it's like, okay, what the fuck? Like, I honestly think, looking at the numbers, it would have been more. If you would have told me before this came out, like how many people, I would have said like 5 or another 10,000.
That was the thing I wanted to bring up was, yeah, not to diminish 1,900 people being affected, but when you look at not only just what Dark brought up, but massive layoffs in just not the gaming industry, but the world in general of just the past couple of years, even the couple of years before COVID, it doesn't even crack the top 16 of massive layoffs that has happened across the world. So and that's just kind of my problem with that I was getting angry about earlier. It was people are treating this like it's like the biggest betrayal in history, where yeah, it sucks, but it's nowhere near as bad as some other things as in other industries, and especially coming off a merger, like stuff like this, coming off a merger is even bigger. Like there have been bigger buyouts in other industries that led to even bigger layoffs than what we saw here. Like this is the lack of a better word, a flesh wound compared to others, and I think I'm just annoyed by how big people are blowing it up. Like once again, not to diminish the loss of 1,900 people's jobs, but it's just I do think a lot of people in the Twitter sphere are just blowing it up bigger than it is, and that's
Yeah.
annoying.
We've
I-
had people come out
I don't
and
think
say,
any,
oh, no, you guys can go, my bad, Dave. You guys speak.
One sec. I think a reason that this specifically is from Microsoft that I mean, like we know Riot and a couple other companies, but none of them made news like Microsoft. Riot a little bit, but sure it's Microsoft, but they also the Xbox division tries to really play it like they're your friend. And I think
Well, that's every company.
obviously, but I mean I think specifically Microsoft and the way they market things and the way they're more vocal, just especially their leadership than most companies like Nintendo and sometimes PlayStation. I think that definitely like I mean I'm not going to say that I didn't like Microsoft and all that. More as like a buddy more than a company, and I think that's a rude awakening for a lot of people.
I don't think this
I,
is a situation of Microsoft being all buddy and then this is them dropping the. This is like we said, we knew that these layoffs are coming, but when you think when you look at it in the bigger picture, this is one of the biggest acquisitions to happen in the gaming space as a whole. it makes sense that the number is as it is. And personally, I thought it would have been higher. Looking like when I started doing research last night, I'm like, holy shit, how is it not like 5 to 10,000 people like last year? But last year was a bit of a more different situation. I was more Microsoft and less of the gaming
Yeah,
situation. But even still, it's a whole thing, and it sucks for the people who have to deal with this. And there was an article by Jason Schreier. I'm not sure if you linked it here. I'm pretty sure you did. But he started talking about like the how long somebody stays in the game industry on average, and it's 2 or so years. You do a project and you get out. You don't linger. So even if this deal didn't happen or anything, both Microsoft and Activision would have cut people as well. It would have happened because it's the beginning of the year. This is inevitable. No matter like, no matter what angle you look at this, it was going to happen one way or another, and it sucks.
Here's the thing. No one's arguing that these are the worst layoffs that have ever happened, the biggest layoffs of all time. No one is saying that. Maybe some weirdos on Twitter, I don't know. I don't give a shit. But at the end of the day, this is still a bad look because this is a console manufacturer after a massive acquisition where, yes, the layoffs were inevitable, but they cut people from ZeniMax and Bethesda and their internal studios as well. It wasn't just
Yeah, it was everybody.
Activision Blizzard. Yeah, and that's, to me, it's frustrating to just see such a mass of exodus of employees basically just, hey, we might as well cut them at the same time to make it all at once. And I understand the sentiment of, oh, well, these aren't the biggest layoffs in the industry. So I get it. But at the end of the day, like, we're going to have a bigger microscope on Microsoft the same way we're going to have a bigger microscope on Sony and Nintendo when it comes to things like this, because they are the biggest companies in the industry right now. They are the console manufacturers. So I'm going to have more scrutiny. If Sony laid off 1,900 employees, this would be a fucking different, like, I would be roasting the shit out of Sony. I would be like, what the fuck are you doing to cut 1,900 employees? It's just that situation where if you're one of the biggest companies in the industry, I'm going to give you more scrutiny to lay off 1,900 employees, especially in the way that they. I think Riot Games.
You cut off.
Yeah, you cut out.
Oh, what part did I cut off at?
You said something like, especially in the
you.
way.
You said
and
you
then
and
that
then,
was
it was dropped.
Okay, what I was saying, sorry, my internet may have messed up. But the way that they cut them out, the problem when you cut out that many employees in the way that they did, that's my issue, especially when you're a Microsoft, and especially the fact that, again, any other company would have done this. Like, we're going to scrutinize them no matter what. That's how we they stop stuff like this. Obviously, we're not like the most powerful people, but we need to talk about what happens.
I agree.
To me, it's. I just think like you can say like, oh, people are going to, but at the end of the day, like, we have to talk about it. We
I
can't
agree.
just like ignore it.
I agree with what you're saying. When I was doing research, this was like a lot of eye-opening stuff. I'm doing this. Microsoft in the last 5 years, that's when everything, they've grown so exponentially. I don't think anybody or even themselves realize how much, and this is 100% their fault. This is, I'm not putting the blame on anybody. I don't think they realized just how much this was going to happen in such a short amount of time, and I think this is because of this. And I think that these layoffs happen last minute. I think they probably had discussions about it like last week. They started where they're just like, okay, shit, we got to do this because we got too many fucking people where we don't know what the fuck to do with them.
And yeah, that's the thing.
sucks,
Like,
but
layoffs shouldn't be like an impulse decision like that. And we're not saying we don't know for sure Microsoft is, but I mean, there are better ways to do layoffs, even if it sucks.
I mean, like Riot Games, we're going to talk about them in a second.
A full
that was
community
probably one of
post.
the better ways to do it.
Like, there was a full community post, and Riot shouldn't have. It's not a good thing people lost their jobs, but I mean, no one at Microsoft said, "Oh yeah, we're making some company changes," like on official platforms. If I'm remembering correctly, we just know it happened because people took to Twitter because they found out they lost their jobs.
And then
Which
also, one thing I do want to point out, because a lot of people are saying, oh, like, I've heard people mention, because the FTC is still trying to cancel this deal somehow. Why are they still at this? I have no idea. This won't affect the deal. Microsoft didn't lie in any way, and they're not doing anything illegal, as fucked up as it is. None of this is illegal. They're not going to get any scrutiny because of this in terms of the deal.
It's going to get brought up in court.
It's going to get brought up, but it's going to get tossed aside. That's how it is ultimately. Something that did happen was that alongside all these people getting fired, we found out that one of the games that was in development for a super long time was kicked out. I think it was canned. I
We're talking
think-
about that. You like hijacking the podcast from me. That's actually kind of funny. I like that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, but anyways, one of these games got canned, and everybody's saying, "Oh, this is the first thing Microsoft's doing. They're firing everybody." I don't think that this is their first action. I actually think that their first action that they really did, besides letting everybody like pick and choose what games they want to do, was canceling that game that was in development for 6 years. I think they seen everybody's reactions to Redfall, especially you, Bunch. They seen the video last week, especially. They're like, "Shit, we can't let this happen again." And from
I
what
mean-
we're hearing about this game, it was in such a bad state due to them not finding
I can-
engineers and
Yeah,
all types of.
if I
You
can
can get
bring
into
that
it
story up.
in a bit. That they were like, just can it. And I think I think that is one of their very first things in changing what's going on in Activision compared to just the layoffs. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
just me personally.
So this is part of the same article. Blizzard's previously announced survival game has also been canceled as part of these changes. Booty says Microsoft. I'm sorry. I'm a little kid. It's just saying Booty says is so funny to me. Booty says Microsoft will be quote shifting some of the people working on it to one of its several promising new projects Blizzard has in the early stages of development. So very much, there's an actual full article by Jason Schreier. I didn't link it because Bloomberg forces me to pay. I'm not doing that, but I read a bit of it on like screen caps and shit, and I just think that I don't know. To me, like I think we saw a lot of people making a big deal out of this specifically, like, oh my god, they immediately canceled this. The game, like what Dirk was saying, the game was probably just not good.
It's a
We would have had
double-edged
another Redfall.
So
We
let's say
keep
that.
talking about
No, you go.
real quick, just we keep talking about Scalebound, and I just have to tell people about Scalebound. Let the dream go. They canceled it because it wasn't good. And you want to know what happens when we cancel promising ideas? Like we don't cancel the promising idea that isn't working. That's Redfall. And we kept telling them they should have canceled Redfall. This is a situation where they're like, we should have canceled this game. And like it's not working out. And it all comes down to the engine shift. If you look at the article, it was very much like the game was working, but the engine shift really fucked that thing up. And especially like I was thinking about it, it's like they are trying to enter the survival game space, which is extremely competitive. I mean, look at PalWorld. Like that's kind of just taken over the world the last week and or so. We're just kind of in a situation where like this type of like survival game is so hard to get right, especially from a AAA company, surprisingly enough. So I don't know. It's just to me, I'm not like surprised. I'm fine with the cancellation. It's clear the game probably just wasn't working out.
It's one of those situations, in my opinion, where if you were to look at this in a bubble, like the layoffs thing, if you look at it in a bubble, you're like, damn, this is terrible. They just canned everybody working in this game for 6 years that we really didn't know anything about. How could they do this like the last of the situation? And then if you look outside, like if you zoom out a bit, you're like, well, you just had this Redfall situation, which people dogged the ever living shit out of, and we still don't even know the full situation about that game. They're just trying to save face however they can, especially given the news that just dropped. I would like to see more about the game, personally. Like, just show us a little bit of something of what it was. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
it is what it is.
It's not surprising. Moving on, I do want to actually focus in on Mike Ybarra specifically. Jason Schreier had this on Twitter. Microsoft's Matt Booty said in a note that Ybarra chose to leave his position as president of Blizzard. But in November at BlizzCon, Ybarra told me that he wanted to stay for the long haul. Quote, someone will drag me out of Blizzard, end quote, Ybarra told me. Quote, that's how long I will be here. And then, interestingly enough, Jez just commented, Jez Corden, he just says, yep, he was ousted. Which I don't know if that was like very much a prediction or something that he like knows on the inside track or not. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like Microsoft is in that position of we kind of need to like clear house and put our own people in. But also that's the idea of like, is Matt Booty going to be in charge of Blizzard too? Like, please tell me you're going to, like, apparently they're hiring a new president for Blizzard, and as according to the article. So I wonder who is going to be the guy in charge there.
Oh, I went into this with Fusion as well. We were talking about this. I looked into like, because he came president 2022, I believe, like February 2022 or something like that.
February, yeah.
So I wanted to
February
see like what he
2022.
did, like what came
Yeah.
out under his watch, and it's 3 things. Fusion pointed out to me because I was tripping like always, so I didn't get the dates right. He did the latest WoW expansion, which has done really well for them. So he did that. So he got 1 win. He has Overwatch 2. That came out underneath
That's
his
a
watch.
win for
Okay,
me.
okay. I don't blame him for that. That was like dead on arrival. level. I blame Kotick more for that one.
No, but he had like the entire year looking at Overwatch 2 and be like, damn.
I
And
don't
then-
think you can cancel.
What was he gonna do?
Just say he doesn't have enough. Like it's not like he by himself can just roll up and be like, yeah.
No,
just
I'm not saying to
cancel
cancel
He
it.
was under Kotick.
I'm not saying to cancel it, but I feel like they could have delayed it until it had more stuff. And then the third game
Oh, yeah,
that came out
Kotick
was
would have
Diablo.
not like that.
It was Diablo. Diablo was good until they killed itself, damn near killed itself a month after until launch.
Yeah, but then they brought it back. I don't know.
They
I don't
brought it
think-
back, but
I can
it's not the same heights as it is at launch.
He was president for a year. I feel like it's hard to really like blame him for a lot of these
Well,
decisions, especially
he
because
didn't start
Kotick was
anything.
over him. Yeah, exactly. Like
nothing
these was
was,
all
like, his
things he
fault.
inherited.
That's true.
Like
as
this
well.
is all
That's
stuff.
That's
into
what
them.
happened underneath his watch. That's one of the point about.
I mean, he's been at the Blizzard for 20 years, so he clearly understood how that company ran. It's just, I don't know, because like now one of the co-founders of Blizzard is also gone. We're kind of in a situation where it's like I don't know who would be the next person in line. I wonder if they even get someone from Microsoft to like head Blizzard at this point. But yeah, I do think he was ousted. I think they just wanted to like say, we want our own people here, so we're gonna get rid of you. But I assume it was like more amicable in comparison to like
I don't
maybe
think
a
they rolled
Kotick.
into his office like you're done, buddy. Get the fuck
Yeah,
out.
yeah, they probably were like trying to negotiate, like, hey, maybe leave.
You've been here long enough.
Moving on. Jess Gordon has another thing. Multiple sources tell me that Microsoft is laying off the entire internal customer support team for Activision games, save a few. Microsoft will outsource the rest to external companies abroad. ABK was one of the few games pubs with a high-quality internal customer support team. And I also wanted to grab this from Jess Gordon as well. Microsoft has also shut down departments dedicated to bringing Xbox games to physical retail, which if you've seen this digital-only console leaks, well, you can get the idea where Xbox is going from here. Note, reducing retail teams doesn't confirm Microsoft is quitting physical retail for Xbox games yet. They can outsource and might be consolidating here, so don't run with, quote, Xbox is quitting physical based on this, but it doesn't seem to be the industry trajectory. So the physical thing, I'm not even surprised. This is how Microsoft is. I don't give
It's
a shit.
pretty clear. Most of their
I don't give
sales
a
are
fuck
digital.
about their stance. I don't
Yeah,
give a
most-
fuck about their stance on physical games. Genuinely, they clearly don't give a shit. But I just wanted to point out very much this shows that Microsoft, I think they really want to go into outsourcing with like their community support teams, customer support teams, as well as the physical thing. It shows that they kind of want to go towards outsourcing a bit, and that hasn't really worked out for them in the past. If you look at Halo Infinite with a lot of their like contractors, I don't know, like maybe that's just like a theory I have, but I feel like they want to focus a bit more on outsourcing rather than full-time employees. Depends. What do you guys think?
I mean, it depends. Like,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
When they've always done contracts. That's how Microsoft like does work. They've done contracts for as long as I can remember. That's the thing is like with back to like earlier when Dark was talking about like people are going to lose their jobs anyways. How he was talking about like the 2 year things in gaming. That's like a huge thing on Microsoft. That's why people only last a year or two because of contracting. That's how Microsoft does their work. You get in there, you do a contract, and you get off. And it's like when you're doing that, you're not sticking around enough to make good video games. If you're kicking people to the curb and hiring new people and kicking people to the curb and hiring you're not like creating a team. There is no team there. You're just bodies at that point. Your body's getting a project out the door, and the minute that project's out the door, sometimes you're not even there for the whole project. You're removed. Like you leave, you go. Like how can a video game be good? How can a video game get to the quality when you're not working together as a team for years on end with the same people fixing the same problems together? Like new people are going to come in and look at problems that people that were there for 2 years probably created, and now they have to try to fix these problems that they haven't been around for 2 years. Like contracting never works in tech, and it's one of the big issues, especially on Microsoft's side. Microsoft's one of the biggest companies in the world that still does the contracting as bad as they do. They've been in trouble with it multiple times throughout the years, and that's why like unions are so important. But like that's like getting rid of all these positions to outsource and to contract is probably what they'll do because they're gonna save money for the people up top who now can like get their $50 million raise because they just don't want to spend the extra money to be like, hey, let's have a good contact team, let's have a good like support team, let's have this, and because it costs them money that they're losing because 50 million is not enough for the bank account. They need 100 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really tough to like kind of show. It's very clear, like from what we see here, though, like outsourcing is something they want to try to do more in the future. Go to external companies to handle stuff like customer support and whatnot. So I don't know. And also, just like again, the physical thing, I just don't care anymore. I given up on like Microsoft giving a shit about physical media. I could scream to the void, but like I'll stick to Sony and Nintendo in regards to that battle. Moving on. That's all the things in regards to the Microsoft layoffs specifically. I do have some other studios that also suck. Shinobi has all three of these actually. All four of these. Wow, a lot of layoffs. Hate to add to the pain, but it went under the radar a bit. Embracer-owned Black Forest Games, developer on the upcoming TMNT The Last Ronin, has also laid off nearly 50% of the studio. My God.
How does this happen? How like what meeting do you have to have that they're like, okay, half this team, they gotta go. Like what?
It's an Embracer group meeting. You know what
Okay.
happens in there? They see numbers on a spreadsheet and go, okay, if we remove 50% profit up, okay, let's do it.
Embracers. And the thing is, I'm really hyped about this game. Well, we'll say I don't know how it's gonna come out now if them missing half their fucking people. But like the
How do you lay
memory is
off half
insane.
the
Like
team?
this next one's even more insane than this.
Good old Embracer group, am I right, guys? And then this isn't just hitting like AAA publishers. We also have Rycon Games. Also, this is Shinobi from Twitter. Rycon Games, the studio behind the popular indie game Ruiner, has laid off 80% of its staff.
What are you
Around 60 people.
How do you make a game if 80% of your team go?
I don't know. And then we also have Shinobi also had this layoffs hit Outriders and Bulletstorm developer People Can Fly. And finally, Shinobi Riot Games is laying off around 11% of its workforce, about 530 employees. And honestly, my question for you guys at the end of this is, where's the end? Is this going to be like the common news story around all of 2024? I unfortunately, call me pessimistic. I think it is. I think this is just going to be something we keep hearing in the news by the end of this year. Maybe you
It's
guys
all
have a
coming
more
at
optimistic
once.
viewpoint.
It's all coming at once right now because it's the end of the financial year. They're starting up the next financial year next week, so they're cleaning house of everything they need to right now.
I think
That's why it's all coming at once.
hear more about Embracer Group because I have no faith in that company staying afloat for another year. I give them a year most at max before they just like collapse onto themselves. But I do think either this year or next year we'll stop hearing stories like this because, like you said, it was the COVID bubble, and I feel like eventually it has to end. They didn't hire that many people during COVID. Like it has to end at some point. Right? Like,
There's
it's
an
gonna
end in
come.
sight.
I say a year or two at max. But yeah, I think it's just a COVID bubble. Hopefully.
I think it's definitely going to be like very much a 2024 thing, like for most of this year. Like pretty much like Moon says it's at the end of the financial quarter. I think it's going to happen pretty much at the end of each financial quarter as we keep going. Like I don't know. It's a frustrating thing.
It's to the
Well, not
point
just
where
the
I'm just
quarter. This is
done
the
with these two.
financial year. So this is when they. This is why they busted out all the books and like, okay, where's our numbers going?
It's to the point where I'm
Exactly.
just numb on this information. I'm just like, oh, there's another one. Another one bites the dust.
Yeah, we've reached numbness at this point. That's never a good sign. Moving on. Nintendo.
They haven't done anything yet
Yeah, I mean that was better than layoffs, so I'll take them.
that we
Why is
know
this
of. That's
more
the other problem. Is there's probably a lot more that we
Nope.
don't know about.
Well,
Hey,
Nintendo has
we're
always
talking about-
been.
We're not gonna start bringing Nintendo down.
Yeah, bro's getting way about Nintendo. Let's go. Let's call
Nintendo has been like, we know they have always cared about their employees. Like we know with Iwata, he took a massive pay cut to ensure that employees didn't have to worry. Like I remember Kit, like the former Nintendo employee on Twitter, was like singing praises because during the Wii U era, layoffs were something they just didn't have to worry about because they were assured that it wouldn't happen, and it didn't happen.
Well, you do know about Japanese law, right?
So that's the thing. Yeah, I do want to bring this up. There was a lot of things in regards to layoffs can't really hit Japanese companies due to like just the way that hiring processes work. They kind of hire slowly and surely. They're not allowed to just lay off like 50 employees or 100 employees, like 80% of their fucking workforce like they can in the US and whatnot. So that very much stops them from being in layoff
They do have many Nintendo American employees though. They very
Yeah,
well could have.
no, I get what you mean. It's just I don't know. I do agree though. Like I think Nintendo has kind of shown that they are much more better in regards to like employee retention. But
mean, yeah,
also,
we
there's a
know-
lot of stuff we don't know behind the scenes. I mean, who knows?
Isn't Nintendo's employee retention in like the 90% or something like that? Crazy like that.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
That is like something
They're-
more on the Japanese culture, but it is still pretty crazy, I think, for that.
Yeah, a lot of the people who were working at Nintendo in the 80s, like a lot of the old legends, still work at Nintendo. Like Miyamoto is still at Nintendo.
Yeah, but that's higher up faces. You don't know about the lower
Well,
end
no.
workers.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
you
but
know-
I'm saying just the higher ed faces. But again, a lot of the 80s, like even just like the workers in the 80s, are still at Nintendo. If you look around.
Nintendo's
but-
been on top, man. Except for for literally everything besides Pokemon, they've been at the top of their game. So
Yeah,
hopefully they
yeah,
look at
Pokemon
this.
wasn't even there. Fucking Pokemon company over here. But anyways, we're getting into a lot of things. I want to talk about this story. Wario 64 had this. Bloomberg, Nintendo's new game console will launch this year with an 8-inch LCD screen, according to Omaida and analyst Hiroshi Hayase. Now, you may be asking why I didn't read the Bloomberg story. Paywall. I'm not paying shit. So thank you, Wario 64. So
Didn't we know this? Hasn't this been reported?
it was a rumor by Nate the Hate about half a year ago in regards to the LCD screen. But this is going to be an 8-inch, so it is bigger than the Switch. I don't think it's bigger than the Steam Deck, so I think it's a little smaller than that.
No, I think it's the Steam Deck size. I think
Yeah.
the Steam Deck is 8 inches.
Oh, is it?
Or the OLED. I think the Steam Deck was like the OLED size until the Steam Deck OLED.
This is bigger than the Steam Deck.
Oh, really? Wait, hang on. How
Steam
big is the
Deck-
Steam Deck?
The LCD's I think 7.
Everyone who has a
and the
Steam Deck, pull
OLED's
yours out right now.
I think the OLED's 7 point something. But this is
Look it up.
bigger. This is the PlayStation Portal size. PlayStation Portal is 8 inches.
Well, look at that. Nintendo taken from Sony.
Yeah,
But
the
no,
Steam
I mean,
Deck OLED is 7.4.
Not going OLED is insane.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's the LCD screen that's like a. I mean, I don't play handheld, so I don't care. But like,
I wanna-
does
yeah.
that affect you guys?
No, not on the slightest. I want to know what is the percentage of. I'm not sure if they can even track this, but what is the percentage of players that
can.
play the Switch handheld versus docked? But I feel like
We
most
can
people
easily
play
track
docked.
that.
If you want a handheld, you just get the Switch Lite. That's what that's
I
for.
feel like most people play handheld.
I'm
Yeah, I
sure there's
think-
a
I feel like
big
most
chunk
people
that
play
we that we know that does handheld, because especially in the Japanese market.
Because
Yeah,
every
I know
time I
if-
talk to someone, like,
casual.
unless they're super serious about it, every time I talk to someone about the Switch, they're always playing that handheld.
I think I've used a handheld for like a total of like 10 hours.
Yeah.
I always hype myself up when I'm going on a trip that I'll play it on handheld on the plane, and it hardly ever happens.
Yeah, and it's like I'm gonna do this road trip, this plane trip, gonna play a bunch of Switch. I play like an hour.
It's
But
just
whenever
not as
you
comfy.
do,
I
whenever
just
you
can't
do
do
play that
handheld
hour, whenever you do that hour though, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I just played an hour of a video game. Like, that's not at my house. This is insane. But yeah, not really much to say here. I
Yeah,
just thought it
guess,
was interesting.
like I said, the no OLED thing. I don't know. I get like I'm a tech freak, so like I'm gonna be more harsh on it than most people, and then like most people are not gonna care. But it's just like you just had an OLED model for your normal Switch that like people love. People love the OLED Switch. Like they did a
I mean,
really
nothing's
good job with that screen, and they're just like, nah, we'll just go back to normal.
That's
I mean,
because
they could go back
they
to
saw
OLED
the
2 years
numbers
later.
and be like, oh, we can afford the LCD a lot more.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's just like from a business perspective, it probably definitely helps them. But it's from like a me just wanting to buy the tech perspective, it makes me just not even care about this console.
Yeah, that's really gonna be like my deciding factor. I'm gonna think, okay, we have this version with the LCD. Granted, I don't use handheld a lot. Then I have to think, okay, how long until they do an OLED version of the Switch 2, and can I just wait for that?
I
They'll
think
do-
it'll be a hot
they-
minute.
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean,
wait
it'll
for
be
2
probably
years.
2 years if I've been.
So I'm just thinking, it'll come down to like how big is the tech upgrade, like internally, not just the screen, but just internally. Is the tech upgrade of the Switch and the Switch 2 worth having a lower screen like that?
But at the very least, we get HDR. Like that'd be nice.
I mean, will this screen be 800p?
I would assume so.
Because Switch is 720, but the Steam Deck is 800.
Yeah, did they say anything in this about this pixels?
I did not see anything in regards to that. I think this is very much just talking about the 8-inch LCD screen, very specifically. Nothing else.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll wait until this March when they finally reveal the Switch 2 to get all that info.
Whoa, it's
If
not
even in March, let's be honest.
It's gonna be like September.
No, I believe in the March
No,
train,
whoa.
man.
Okay, it's not gonna. Bench, we're talking about like reveal, not release.
I mean, I think it could be 2025. So
I agree.
Oh my god.
With
Let's
consensus.
wait
They
for
could
the
still
Nintendo
still
Treehouse.
reveal it like a year ahead.
nah, the Switch wasn't even.
That's not how
revealed
Nintendo does that.
It'll be 6 months ahead at most.
I could see it
Yeah.
I
dropping
hate this
late,
company.
not late, early next
You
year.
gotta get in the mindset, Fusion.
No. I can't.
They're working on a new Kirby game. Come on, harness that
Yeah,
Kirby
power.
game ain't coming out no time soon, bro.
Probably be locked
that's
behind
kinda-
this new
Dark-
Switch.
Dark, you'd be surprised. That team works fast.
They just announced that they're working on.
No, they announced that they're hiring for it.
Yeah,
They
that
probably
doesn't mean
already
they're
have like most of the game done.
Yeah,
That's true.
that game. That's 2027. Switch 3 or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
When,
but
by the
Switch
time
3.
an OLED, by the time an OLED comes out for this Switch version, it will drop.
That'll be the launch title for the Switch OLED.
Yeah.
Moving on. PalWorld, fun game, am I right? I wanted to talk about this. So we got a sales update from PalWorld. PalWorld has
Multiple
sold
of
over.
them.
multiple.
Yeah, there was a lot of sales updates. So we kept getting them every single day, and the news kept becoming more and more outdated. This is the most recent sales update. It's going to be outdated by the time this episode comes out. I feel it. PalWorld has sold over 8 million copies in less than 6 days. Okay, guys. What's the ceiling on this one? Like, just sales-wise. Like, what's
I
the
think we're
ceiling?
about to hit it because I don't think we got one
I
for
was gonna say
today.
yeah.
I
think
think it'll.
we've
I
hit it.
think. I think it hits
Plateauing.
10. I think it hits 10 and then it dies down.
I think
Dude,
it'll
it's
hit.
insane.
It'll get to 10 around by the end of this month. And then from there, we'll slowly get updates. And I bet it ends the year at around 20. Like, that's
Oh,
the
no.
max, though.
No, I think it ends
I don't
the
know
year.
about that.
If
It's
it,
I think-
okay,
the flash
I
in the
think-
pan's gonna wear off real quick.
It would have to come to PlayStation. to hit
yeah,
20.
to hit
That's my
20,
thing. I
has to
think
go
it
on
comes to
other platforms.
PlayStation by the end of the year.
Okay.
I
Because
think-
Shuhei Yoshida was talking about that.
I think that the reason why, one of the big reasons why this game is doing as well as it is because the only competition, and well, not competition, but the only other big game out right now is Prince of Persia. Once like,
Whoa.
well, this also
What's it?
Tekken and stuff that just dropped. I'm talking about before
I
when
was
this
gonna
game
say,
came
technically
out.
came out.
When the
Yeah.
game came out.
Yeah, when the game came out, the only other game that was there was Prince of Persia. Now you guys start getting like Persona, Tekken, Yakuza, and Final Fantasy in like a month. Once those games start coming out, it's gonna die down.
I mean, Suicide Squad. That's next week.
Not to mention like
When
in
the good games come out, it'll die down.
Not to mention like in the survival game aspect, there's that you might keep hearing about called Enshrouded or something like that. That's also gonna start taking.
Yeah,
away
that
some
also
numbers.
got. Yeah, but I mean, just in general, like the Steam crowd and like PC crowd really does love their survival games and games like this. And I think it kind of shows this is basically multi-platform Pokemon. And you could say like, oh, it's Pokemon at home. Pokemon is kind of Pokemon at home at this point because, like, honestly, we're gonna talk about it in what we've been playing, but like, I played a bit of PalWorld and I honestly really enjoyed it. I was more
It's not
surprised by the.
Pokemon. It's just.
It's a survival game, and it's
It's a
actually
survival game. Like,
Pokemon with guns.
and people be losing their minds over PalWorld. Come like
Oh yeah,
taking
I
a
didn't
bullet for the
enjoy it all,
Pokemon. Taking the bullet
all
for the
that.
Pokemon company, the small indie team. Like, come on.
Speaking of-
let's be serious.
Speaking of the Pokemon Company, we got a response from them. Warrior64 had this. The Pokemon Company releases a statement regarding PalWorld. This is from their official statement. Inquiries regarding other companies' games. They don't even name it by name. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's games released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. We will continue to cherish. I'm sorry, this sentence pisses me. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Okay, guys. You're a $1 billion corporation. Don't try to do that. Yeah, no, I mean, this is just like, do they have a case?
Not at all. This is them saying, please stop telling us about this fucking game.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
I agree.
If they had a case, this game would have got shut down. Like, the Nintendo ninjas would have been on this game's ass already.
And I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, PalWorld doesn't take anything from Pokemon. It does.
I think
Let's be
it's
honest,
clear
guys.
inspiration from Pokemon.
You look at some of the like PalWorld designs. It's like you can tell where they got
I
their
gave
inspiration
Goofy
from.
a gun, bro.
And guess what?
Yeah,
That's perfectly fine. Games have taken inspiration from each other for decades.
yeah, and I do think there's a bit of a, I don't want to say rip-off energy, but like copy or homework type energy, but don't make it obvious. Where like some of these pals got a little close to some of these Pokemon's more close than you would think.
Yeah,
But also,
it's
there's
definitely
just
like saying we're definitely ripping off Pokemon, but in the way that it's legally fine. And yeah, you're supposed to be in on the joke. That's the thing. Is you're supposed to be in on the
it's
joke.
a
Is that
parody.
yes, these are cute and cuddly creatures that basically mirror a lot of Pokemon, and that's the joke.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
Go
I
ahead,
said,
Fisher.
like 2 weeks ago, whenever like Pokemon, like whatever had a case, kinda, but like the Arc team is the one who had the case this entire time. And like no, I don't think Arc's even talked about it, or like they can't do anything obviously. But it's just like it's funny how like Pokemon, like all the Pokemon fans are like bashing this game, but, like the Arc team and like that team just like sitting in silence, like doing nothing.
I mean, the
This
Arc
is a
team
blender
can't-
of like 20 games.
Yeah, the Arc team can't be like, oh, you copied.
Oh
the
yeah, no,
same
I
game
100%
from
know,
your
but I'm
list."
saying like every UI in that video game is straight from Arc. Like Bink should know. He's
Yeah,
played a little bit of it.
and
The
it's
Ingrams,
better for it.
it is just I know, and there's no problem with it. They can't do anything about it, but it's just funny that there's not. I've not seen a single person on the Arc side of this be like, "What about us? They just copied everything we did."
Do you guys want to take a history lesson with me? I don't know if you remember this. PUBG tried to sue Fortnite for taking the idea of Battle Royale from them. But then you got to remember that, well, PUBG didn't invent Battle Royales. And I'm going to say something crazy. Pokemon didn't invent monster collecting. Dragon Quest Monsters did. It was not a thing. Like Pokemon took from Dragon Quest. Like, this is kind of what happens in the gaming industry. It's a lot of iteration. Hell, Digimon existed before Pokemon. Like, at the end of the day, this is just like, it happens. Like, iteration exists.
Even if you create something, so let's say you create Metroidvania, right? They don't. You don't own that. It's a genre. You created a genre. You don't think the Dark Souls team, when they make Souls, like Souls like came from Dark Souls. You don't see them going after every person that makes a Souls like game.
It's a problem when it's like they straight up take a Pokemon design, but they didn't. Like
They
they
should have
copy
patented
it.
like the Nemesis system. Like, imagine if you patent like an entire genre, like they just patent Metroidvania. They're like, nah, this is us.
Listen, with this legal system, I wouldn't be shocked.
This is just Pokemon's cousins with guns. That's what it is.
And it's fun as hell. Moving on. I think
The one
that's
thing, the
everything.
last thing I'll say, sorry,
Oh,
is
yeah,
just
go
like
for it. Go for it.
it's a good thing that like a lot of the AI usage has been like
Yeah, that was silly.
like thrown to the side. Like they've proven now that like none of this was AI, because that was the copying Pokemon, whatever. But the biggest thing was like the biggest like problem people were having was like if they just used the AI to make this entire game, and like from
AI
100 different sources, they haven't at all. Like there's been
It has
zero
not.
evidence of AI. So like
Wait.
that's the best part out of this.
It was just
Usually-
something people said.
Even they didn't hit the create game button and a good game comes out.
Yeah, they had to actually
Yeah,
work.
Imagine
I
putting
will
effort
say-
into something.
I actually forgot to mention this. The Steam concurrent player number is right now at this point above 2 million. So it is the second highest concurrent
it's right
players
there
for
in
any
PUBG.
game on Steam. The question is, will it beat PUBG,
No,
which
it
is at
would not
3.2 million?
I think
And
this is
I
its
think
peak.
no.
I think around 2 million was like even right now. Granted, like we're different time zone. Like it's about to be nighttime over here. Blah blah. Like the peak, all-time peak was above 2 million. But right now there's like 1.3 million playing, which I guarantee it sits around 1 million players for like maybe the next couple of days. But out of a while, it's gonna go down to like
Yeah,
It's gonna drop.
If this was like a dry month, like if the rest of February was like a dry month of big releases, it'd probably hold that for quite a while. But we're about to be hit with like one of the busiest Februarys we've seen in a while
I mean,
of like
you're-
just big AAA releases.
You say this, but I don't think the big I don't think the people playing the normies playing PalWorld, their next big release is Final Fantasy VII. They ain't playing
even
Persona.
then,
Yeah.
then though, the PC crowd plays different games.
Yeah.
Like it is a
And the
very
PC, yeah,
different
the PC market is big. That's what I'm saying. We're probably at the peak right now of it,
Yeah.
and
I
so
think
it's just
we're
going to
probably
slowly dwindle away as people move back onto other games.
I also don't
The-
think people understand just PUBG and that massive. Like that was a game that was popular for an entire summer. Everyone was playing it that summer. It just, I was there. Yeah, I remember, and like literally all
Yeah.
anyone would talk about was PUBG.
And the funniest thing here is like obviously Fortnite's not on Steam, so you can't see the numbers. But like I wish I could see the Fortnite numbers every day because I guarantee those numbers are insane. Like
You can see them in game.
yeah, but I wish there was just a Steam chart nonstop where it was just like show me because it would probably like it'd probably be insane.
Fortnite's highest concurrent peak was 44 million.
I was just saying it was like, and it was recently like last year.
Yeah,
38
with
last
the
year, yeah.
well, wild game. Something we're gonna be updating hopefully. Moving on. We got a funny news story here. Focus Entertainment will rename itself to PulluP Entertainment on April 1st, 2024. Let's make fun of them.
That's a bad April Fool's joke, isn't it? There's no fucking way. Who
This is
who it let Jimmy
What the fuck does
into
PulluP mean?
yeah, who let Jimmy into like the boardroom meeting and gave him a say because like what is this name?
I didn't
Which
know this
better
was
be
on
cute.
April 1st.
The
Maybe it
weirdest
is
thing
an April
about
1st joke.
the weirdest thing about it is they're trying to be cute with it, where the last P of pull up is a capital, so now it's a oh, what's that word where it's spelled the same way backwards and forwards?
Oh
Seconds.
my god.
Oh, it's like race
I mean,
cars.
I'm an English major. How do I not know this? I know this.
I'm trying to think of I had it and then I lost it, but yeah, it's one of those words that it's spelled the same way backwards and forwards. When you capitalize the P and pull up the last one, that's what they're doing. They're trying to be cute about it. I'm guessing they're going to work it into their logo.
Palindrome.
Palindrome. There we go.
It's very obvious this company lost their focus. Clear as day.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
having-
Cute.
All right, where's the rim shot? I
That's
need
cute.
that sound effect.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make fun of them for a second.
It's because I
Next
know,
thing.
like, Focus Entertainment, I
no.
feel like is just such a good name, and like it's been a staple for years.
Focus.
Like,
Yeah, they
it's
were
just
just
like a
starting to get
nice,
traction.
yeah. People know when the Focus Entertainment comes up, like before Plague Tale or like Banish, like when that comes up, it's like, oh, Focus Entertainment, they're gonna make a pretty good game. Now people are gonna see PulluP and they're like, what? Like, what
Who the
is
fuck
PulluP?
is PulluP? Who
If
invited this
Xbox
guy?
is gonna have their E3 showcase.
I
roll up-
guarantee-
roll up. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is this?
I would say, I guarantee 8 months from now, we're gonna be watching some type of press conference. PulluP's gonna show up, and we're gonna be like, who's PulluP? Like, we're gonna
Oh,
No,
all
the
forget
problem
this
is we're
happened.
laughing at the name pull up, so we're gonna remember it when it comes up again.
Very true.
We're all gonna point and laugh.
They
Well,
genuinely
we're
said
laughing
that it
at
comes out
today,
April
but I
1st.
already forgot about it.
This has to be an April Fool's joke.
I don't know, dude.
I want you
There's
guys
no
to
way
know.
on April 1st they're gonna do this.
Well, April 1st is a lot of companies' new fiscal year, so I think it's not an April Fool's joke.
Physical? You mean fiscal?
Fiscal.
Fiscal, yeah.
Bro's going through it today, guys. We gotta get him.
He's a little tipsy.
I'm playing Genshin.
No, during the podcast.
Ron,
Fusion,
Ron
these-
the
gone.
list.
He's
He's
gone.
an unprofessional ass crew today. He bought Tekken 8, by the way, guys. I want you guys to know that.
And
He
he's
bought
playing
Tekken 8.
Genshin.
I would be playing
Well,
Tekken 8 if I could play it on my phone like I can with Genshin.
Oh, true. So he's like,
Look,
he's here in
I-
spirit,
look,
you know. At
Apple-
least he's
so
only
he's-
playing the phone.
so he's-
Apple, there's an
double-
audience for Tekken 8 mobile port. Like you're doing it for
Okay,
Tekken Mobile
okay.
4. They
We're
want
not
this.
pulling this like Street Fighter 4 back in the
People
day
have
when they
spoken.
ported that to phones. Oh no. Moving on. Project D blank teaser announced for Steam. This is a new Sam Barlow game. I'm gonna try my best here. Project D blank is a blank survival horror blank Sam Harlow blank half mermaid, and then a lot of redacted here. 1983 nurse in Be Careful Nightmare. Project C blank also listed on Steam. For now, we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know even as a Project C blank is the new cinematic blank. I fucking hate this shit. I'm sorry. I just really fucking hate these types of like, oh, we're being cute and tipsy. Haha, look, C blank.
This is what
Sam
happens.
Barlow, you're not cool enough for that.
This-
Sam
this
Barlow.
That's
reads
what
like-
happens when people try
That's a
to be
Kojima thing.
It's like when you pick up a control note, like in Control, when you pick up like a
Yeah.
note in the game, like half of it's redacted, and you're just like, what?
Are you Fusion? Are you a big Sam Barlow guy? I feel like you're
No,
to this.
I'm not. This is gonna be really embarrassing. I'm gonna be truthfully honest. I thought his last name was Barlog, like Corey Barlog, until like yesterday. Like I have no idea who this Sam. Like I know the name, I know his name, but I've never played a game of his. I know like his
He
last one
did
was the really
Her
good.
Story, Immortal. Wait, Immortal?
Yeah, Mortals. That's what it's called?
Immortality.
Immortality. Yeah, that's the one I always
His-
hear about.
Yeah, I just don't like those type of games. So I mean, I don't know. I have respect for him. He makes like interesting
No, you
games, but
don't.
like
Are
I
they like
know,
movies or
but
something?
they're just too artsy. I don't like this artsy crap in gaming. I'm sorry. He
We
says
hate
it's a
chicory,
Kojima
man.
fan. No, but Chicory's cool because it's like a there's actual like gameplay and shit.
I was just I was making
You're watching a
code
fucking
book.
movie with Sam Barlow. Moving on. I do want to shout out Sam Barlow though. He does good shit, I guess.
Yeah, just in case you
Uh,
listen, we do like you. I don't know much about you, but you're cool, dude.
Yeah, if he's listening right now, he's like, "What the fuck? This is bullshit. I'm canceling this." Moving on. Okami Games had this one. This is gonna actually lead in really nicely to our topic. Norman Reedus' latest post on Instagram, quote, "I'll be waiting for you on the beach." And we also had this from Mario 64. According to Deal Labs, the full title for Death Stranding 2 is, quote, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, with more info expected in the next 2 weeks.
No matter what, we will be there. Death Stranding, an incredible game.
We?
No matter what, we
We?
will be there.
Who invited you, man?
We will
Yeah,
be
the
there.
cool people. Me, Fusion, and Bench. That's the squad.
Moon should have been there. He was gonna start Death Stranding like 2 months ago, and he never.
What a bum. Get him out of here. Nah, but I'm excited. Do you guys think On the Beach is that a fire name?
No.
This is
It's
goofy as
not.
shit.
It makes sense.
I mean, yeah, it
I
makes
mean, like
sense,
it
but like
makes
I just.
sense, but like, come on.
What are they gonna do? Death
well, I-
Stranding 3, breathing the air? Like,
I'm glad it has a subtitle because more games need subtitles.
I know you said that because I remember you saying that when Armored Core got a subtitle, but like, if your subtitle is not cool, I don't want it. Like, this is not cool. Like Armored Core is like Fire of Rubicon or something, like something cool. This is just on the beach. Like I would have rather it just straight up been just called Death Stranding 2. Like I like the simple titles.
I don't.
I get really annoyed when it's called DS2 because I get it confused with Dark Souls 2. So everyone's like, "Oh man, I wonder when we'll see stuff on DS2." It's like, guys, that game came out 10 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
That's a me
so,
problem, I know.
That's fine because for some reason I think Destiny 2. I'm like that doesn't make sense, but whatever. When I said DS2,
No,
I think
honestly, I
Destiny
do
2.
too. Because it's like the acronym for Destiny 2 is D2. So it's
Mhm.
like, let's stop doing D's and 2s, guys. We're getting market confusion at this point. But I did want to use that as our jumping off point into our topic. Last week we talked all about the state of Microsoft. And I know everyone had to stop listening to the podcast. They were tired because now it's PlayStation's time to
Let's
shine.
go! It's
Let's
our
go!
time. It's our
Oh
time.
my god! I've had it. I'm tired of Xbox. Let's get into the good things now. Where are the games?
That's what I was just about to say. Okay, what games?
We got
so
games.
we got it.
We have the
w-
a big release is coming this year.
So
and
okay,
I know
let's
what
start.
it is.
Yeah, I know. Rise of
What
the
is-
Ronin.
I want to talk real quick, just off the top of everyone down the road. How do we feel PlayStation's 2024 is looking? How do we feel it's going to end as? Let's go down the road. Bench.
I think we're gonna get a showcase, and well, a state of play first, and that'll kind of like lay out kind of what we have. And I do think the Pro will be announced this year. I don't think it releases this year. I think the DualSense Pro, with DualSense like
I
Pro
just said
controller.
like your overall thoughts. You're going into every detail and minute
Yeah, I am.
thing.
He
I
was, he
am.
was the whole. He's laying it out.
Does
He's
he
laying the
ever
month.
listen to me, Fusion?
Well, I
Saying
think Ghost of
in
Tsushima
April,
2
this is
year.
coming out.
Ghost of Tsushima 2 is this year. They're gonna hit us with this. It's been gonna be like 4.5 years by the end of the year. I think they're gonna hit us with a big surprise, and that'll be announced.
it's
just
going on the
asked.
list.
Hey guys, I just wanted to know. I want you guys to know. I just asked him, hey, what do we think the state of PlayStation is going to be this year? And he's like, oh, they're going to do this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do this. It's just like, bro, okay. You know what, Bench? Talking privileges revoked. Dark. how
Nope,
about
I'm gonna continue. I think they're
you?
gonna.
No, you know
we're
what?
gonna
To
have
continue. No,
big
because you don't listen.
on
You
third
don't listen. We'll
party.
go into the bullet
We're
points.
gonna have a big focus on third
Oh
party
my god.
exclusives, and that's gonna do
Moon,
them
kick 'em.
good. They're gonna continue to invest in Korea and China, the emerging markets.
We will get into them. Shut up, Dark. Go.
I think they're gonna have just an okay year. at best. If not, it'll be pretty meh.
Get him off the podcast.
Like, what?
No, you get no. You lost.
I
your
never
talking
said that
privileges.
about Xbox, bro. I was respectful.
I am being respectful.
No,
Well,
I
I'm not
know,
gonna go
I
through
was
like bench did.
No,
Like, you want me to go?
At least
I
don't
just wanted more
listen to
joy
me.
in your voice. I felt like you were depressed when you showed it.
He's bored. He's never
I
had
am
fun on
depressed.
these podcasts. Like I've never heard like Dark have fun on this podcast. This
You
is
did the
insane.
You're no
Batman
fun in
podcast with me.
voice.
What was this?
Okay, my turn,
and
I
you were
guess,
bored.
right?
Yeah, Fusion, you go ahead.
I want to respect your wishes.
Fusion, you're the hype man. Come on, bring
No,
it.
I'm going to respect your wishes and not go into every detail yet. But I think this year, on paper, I think it honestly looks better than most people are saying. I think once we get to actually showing the games that I laid out, we're going to realize that. But I think it's going to start, we're starting like scared. Like scared's a good word, like a little concerned. But I think we're going to, 10 months from now, we're going to be like, wow, this was a good year for PlayStation. That's all I got.
You? Yeah, I know. It's a pregnant pause, Fusion. Moon, how about you?
The one thing that
Moon!
makes me work, I'm
Okay.
I'm talking.
sorry, go ahead.
The thing that is usually I'm not the kind of like, well, where are the games kind of person, but the past couple years with Sony, we knew at least one of their big first party games going into the next year, like Spider-Man, God of War, Ragnarok, something like that. This year we know nothing. We know of Rise of the Ronin, and that's just a exclusive third party. We don't know any first party going into the year, which is just a weird deviant from what we've had the past couple of years. So that makes me think this might be a lower than usual year. I'm not gonna say it's a bad year, but I'm just saying it's probably not gonna have any massive first party title. At least that we know of. Like, who knows? They could probably just drop the craziest thing at the state of play and be like, guess what? It's coming out this October, and suddenly everything is right with the world. But it's just a weird trend to see them kick after successful years of a large hype cycle for their first party games.
Yeah, that is something I actually kind of want to get into. First, I guess like my personal viewpoint, I think this is going to be a good year for PlayStation, but also it's hard to predict because we just don't know what's coming. As Moon said, like we don't really have like a good roadmap of what's ahead. Granted, what we do have, stuff like Rise of the Ronin or Ultros, like that is interesting stuff, but we're kind of waiting for that state of play showcase to really show us ahead of what is Sony's plans for this year. What are they like really thinking of doing? But I kind of want to get into almost like a meta question. Like, how do we think is PlayStation going to change their marketing? Are they decidingly stepping away from the idea of we're going to show you like 12 games or like all our studios games and you'll get them over like the course of the console generation, kind of like what they did for the PS4 and early PS5? Are they going to go more towards like the Nintendo route of we're going to show you the game and it's going to come out the same year or the next year, like a year later? Like, how do we feel?
I think, especially since we know Wolverine is pretty far out, I think we're going to see things that are going to come out in the next year to year and a half whenever they talk about them.
Yeah, I think we have seen already, like through this generation, that they have switched from the PS4 era. At least under current Jim Ryan, who knows with a new president how that goes, but like current PlayStation waits. Like we've seen like where I think they're going to be like, hey, this game, like kind of like Moon said, I think there could be a surprise where at a stay of play in February or something, and they're like, hey, also this is coming out in October. Like some big game, like an Astro game or something. I think that is the route that PlayStation is going on, because I don't think PlayStation doesn't have like Nintendo, how like their marketing systems are only like 6 months. Like if you lower your marketing system a little bit, you're saving money that way, because you're not spending years having to market your video game and put up trailer after trailer and commercial and after commercial. I feel like even we saw with Spider-Man 2. Think about Spider-Man 2, how even though they announced it, Spider-Man 2 went dark for like 18 months before we saw like anything ever again. But then once we finally saw it, we saw it like 3 times over 6 months and it was out. I think they're finally realizing, hey, we do not have to. We're going to stop showing you Last of Us Part 2 5 years like early. Days Gone like 4 years early. They're stopping that, and they've been getting away from that year after year. And I feel like that's why we're in a dark spot with PlayStation. But at the same time, I think it's not going to feel so dark, because once we start seeing these games, they're going to get dates at the end of these trailers instead of 2027 or something crazy.
I do want to add on, if you don't mind, real quick.
I do
I
mind.
mind.
But go ahead.
Yeah, man.
Oh damn. Okay then. But do something unexpected that happened was the Insomniac leak, and if that didn't happen right now, this would be a different conversation. But everybody would be saying, "Hey, Wolverine's coming out this year." It's not, but that's what would have been the conversation, and I feel like Sony would have been writing on that until they came up with something. Obviously, the leaks happened, and I feel like they just haven't found anything to change the combo with yet.
I feel like Wolverine leak was almost kind of like a. I was kind of just like vindicated. Like I was pretty certain that it wasn't going to come out this year. I don't know
I was pretty certain
who
as
was
well,
doing this. The
but there was a
crazy
lot of
pills.
people saying that Wolverine was still coming out this year. I'm like, there's
I
no
was one
way.
of them. I'm one of
Fusion.
them.
Just say his name.
Well, I didn't know off the top of my head if he did put or not, but yeah, I've seen
I
a lot of
did.
people when Spider-Man 2 dropped no less too. They were like, "Oh yeah, Wolverine's coming out next year." I'm like, "No, it's
It's
not."
Insomniac, bro. I don't ever doubt them.
Yeah, no,
You could have
Insomniac's
the
hard
game's
it
not
out. But
2026.
They've had
Yeah,
4 games on the PlayStation 5 already.
to be fair, Fusion, in that regard, though, like Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man 2, like yeah, they're fast, but like Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man 2, there's like a 2 year cycle between them. So I feel like it was going to be at minimum 2 years.
At the same time, because of that leak, at the same time, maybe Sony's just like, "Well, you got the leak. You don't even tell you shit now. You know all this information."
No, I doubt that. Because they know that like normies don't look at those
That's
leaks.
true
They
as
look
well.
at the PlayStation presentations.
That's very much true.
I don't. I don't think the leak was nearly as damaging as we make it out to be.
I don't
Is
think it
that
was
like a hot
damaging,
take?
but it's not
Because
like anything got ruined because of it. We kind of just
I feel like most of it was stuff we knew, except for Insomniac's roadmap. That was like the one thing for like their future titles basically becoming a Marvel studio, which I fucking hate. But hey, live and learn, I guess.
if anything, the leak got me hyped for Wolverine, because I was kind of like skeptical. Not skeptical. I didn't know how it would work, like for Wolverine game from Insomniac. But those leaks, it was pretty fucking cool.
Moving on. I do want to talk more about acquisitions. Obviously, Microsoft acquired a big boy Activision Blizzard, and I don't really think Sony's gonna be looking at like a big boy acquisition on that scale. But I do want to ask, like, will PlayStation acquire not even just like publishers, but like developers, and like who's kind of like the teams that they're scoping out at the moment?
I feel like they can. I feel like they right now Sony's in a
I mean, they
position where
can, but will they?
well, within reason. I feel like within reason they can get a big publisher, and because of what happened to Microsoft, they can do it with relative ease.
I mean, the question is like, do they need a publisher? And also, it's like, what publisher could they scoop up? Like, EA
I mean,
is in a fine enough spot. They don't.
I
EA
think
doesn't need to be acquired. I don't think Ubisoft needs to be acquired.
I think it
Activision
comes
Blizzard
down
needed to.
to what Sony's plan is, like what's their goal. Like with Microsoft, we know that their goal is they want to have the whole. Well, they have Game Pass and they want to do the 4 games a month. With Sony, what do they want? And 2 is who's selling? Because we talk about like acquisitions, but like you have to be selling to be bought. You can't just go to some random company and be like, "Yeah, we're gonna buy you now."
I feel like they half is a strong word, but like strongly suggest them buying a publisher or someone at some point, because you're looking through here and you count the first party studios. I don't know off the top of my head, I'm not going to count all these real quick, but there's like 15 and then like 2 support studios. Like there's probably more than that. There's probably around 20, but like you can probably take every single first party studio on their PlayStation, and there's less employees there than like Bethesda by themselves, and think of Microsoft has like Bethesda, Activision, they have everyone. Think of all the people under Microsoft and how many employees are there and how many games are about to be made for Xbox. PlayStation they will not be able to keep up. And I'm not saying they have to, but I'm saying like it's going to be quality over quantity on the PlayStation side, but at some point you're going to need more. You're just going to need to you don't really need to compete, because I mean you do have to compete, but like you've been in first, you're going to be in first the rest of this generation. There is nothing Xbox can do to stop that. They've admitted it themselves. But like at some point you don't want to see Xbox being able to actually release a game a quarter, and then PlayStation go through times like this where we're thinking, are we getting a first party game this year? That's not going to end well. And it's because PlayStation, they have a lot of studios, but they don't have enough studios to like actually sit there. And we go through that PS4 gen when we're getting game after game after game. Now that games are taking so long, 5 to 6 years at a time, they don't have enough studios to keep up with the 5 or 6 years at a time like length.
I mean,
So
not
you
even
have to
just,
get someone.
not even just. I feel like PlayStation got lazy because they had a blowout during the PS4 generation, and even to recently, where only recently Xbox started picking up steam, where they're like they didn't have to do anything. Now is a situation like if you don't do something, you're gonna get overtaken eventually.
I
At
don't
the
I
think
rate
they
wouldn't
they're
got
call
going.
it
lazy.
lazy. I wouldn't call it lazy. I think you could say content. Lazy is not the word I would use there. They're a
Well,
billion-dollar
lazy.
company. They're not like, "Oh, let's chill.
I mean, like, you know what I mean. You understood what I
I
was talking
know
about.
what you mean, but like that was just a goofy ass word choice.
I feel like if they don't do something, if they just stay where they're at, they will eventually get overtaken. And even during the leak, they mentioned that they don't have a counter to Game Pass. One of the things they're looking at is Game Pass, and they don't have anything to counter it that they can think of.
I mean, like we'll talk more about like kind of the Game Pass competitor, their PS Extra and whatnot. But in general, I don't really view it as being. I do think they kind of like rested on their laurels when going into this generation a bit harder, kind of reaching into that cocky Sony bag that they did at the beginning of the PS3 generation, which really screwed them over then. But in this regard, I feel like they're more so kind of stuck because a lot of their studios are still working on their games. So they're very much in a position where there's nothing there because their studios are busy. They're still working on games. It all just depends on when those studios will be able to get those games out. And as Fusion said, and I counted, there's like 19 first party PlayStation studios. Which, by the way, Fusion, you didn't include Bungie. That's a first party studio, technically.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah, it
forgot.
is.
I forgot,
By
dude.
definition. So, I mean, I get it. It's Bungie. But
The
so
thing
that's
is,
20. That's 20
Sony.
studios, and that's not nearly as much as like a Microsoft right now with Activision Blizzard, which with Bethesda, they could call those all first party. That's why we have so many
Three of
games out
those
of
are support
Microsoft.
studios, by the way.
Three of
The
them.
thing
Okay,
with
gotcha.
3 of them are solely support studios. They do not make their own video games.
the thing with Sony is that they rely heavily on third-party exclusivity, but I feel like that's a bubble that's gonna pop. Because we're seeing a lot of companies
I think it's only going to get
stepping
better
away
for
from.
them.
No, I see we're seeing a lot of companies step away from it because they're doing better outside of exclusivity. We've seen
But
it
I
with
think
Sega. We're starting to see it with Square Enix. Capcom went down that route like heavily. So I don't know.
I think Sony's gonna investment in the Chinese and Korean market is gonna pay off in spades over the next couple years. I think we have Stellar Blade. You have I think it's Phantom Blade Zero. I think, and then you have. I mean, I think these are really gonna be big for them.
I mean, that's a whole separate point in and of itself. Bench really likes just ignoring us. By the way, I want to point that out. I don't like this guy. Uh, it really just comes down to like who they can acquire, who they want, who they feel is like good for their studios. I think actually, like Chinese or a Korean studio is something that they could acquire in the future. Very much that Stellar Blade developer. So I agree with Bench there. They very much want to invest in those regions and like see what they can do and try to like get them into the fold and have like more foreign presence on their studios instead of like really right now we have a lot of Western studios under Sony, especially with Japan studios closure, like they don't really have much presence at all in Japan.
Yeah, they're moving.
So it really just,
It's kind of weird.
I mean, to them, it's like, well, we don't get as much money out of the Japanese market. The Japanese market, they moved on to the Switch. They kind of just view them as like Japan is a market, not as much the focus the way they were as like during the PS3 generation.
And we know,
But
like, do we know how long Rise of Ronin's exclusive for, or is that just plain exclusive?
I think it's a year. Or actually, no, I think it's just exclusive. I think that's something they funded.
Yeah, I think it's something
Uh,
they funded.
So
Like
yeah,
we
I
we're
think that's
talking
something.
about them having a light year, but I mean they're having like Seven Rebirth, Helldivers, Rise of Ronin, I mean in the
That's
span
not
of like
dumb.
3 months.
That's the thing.
But those are all exclusive games.
Yeah, that's third-party exclusivity. We're talking about like
But-
Sony themselves. They just paid a bag for that.
And yeah, and I agree, Dark, but I'm also saying like we say they don't have games, but if you can only play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PlayStation, they have games. It works like that. They have if Final Fantasy VII Rebirth comes out and you can only
yeah,
play it
I
on
agree.
PlayStation, and it's going to be a Game of the Year contender, I would
can
put
only
money
play it
on
on
it to come into
PlayStation.
TGA.
Because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that's gonna be on PC by the end of the year, given the exclusivity and how long
I
it is.
don't think so.
It
I mean,
only
what
has 3 months exclusivity. and they're not gonna pump out another like edition of the game in 3 months.
I just think like
I think
that
that bubble's
might
gonna
be a
pop.
help.
they can't rely on that for much longer.
I think
disagree.
I
you're.
thought they're relying on it. When did they say we were relying
No,
on it?
no,
Sony's
they're
never
rel-
relied on
No,
this.
when they don't have anything, like as of right now, we don't know what Sony has for this. So
Time
as
for
it
the
stands,
fair
all they
games. Put
have,
respect on them.
all
But
they
there's
have
two
right
first
now is
parties
the
for this
third
year.
party
Fusion, you lost
exclusivity.
me.
I mean, they're supposed to both come out this year. And
Those
they're
are
both first
games that
party.
come out this year.
I don't know, but
Those are games that like no one. I really disagree with the statement that they're relying on these third-party exclusives. They've never
they're
relied on them.
strategic
They are
plays.
they are things that they get. They use our extra games at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean they're like exclusive to their console. So
And also, I checked. Rise the Ronin is published by Sony, but it's possible it can come to PC later.
yeah, it'll come to
Look at-
PC, but it'll never make its way to Xbox then.
They need CD Projekt Red. That's what they need.
They're not.
There is-
nah,
I know they'll never
CD
get them,
Projekt
but
Red
that's
has
what they
said
need.
they will.
It's who they
No,
need.
CD
It's not who
Projekt
they'll
Red has
get.
said that. Yeah, CD Projekt Red has said they just don't want to be
I
acquired.
know it.
That's a big
I'm
thing.
just saying. I
CD
said. I
Projekt
just
Red
think that's
is-
who they need.
CD Projekt Red is the equivalent of Square Enix for Microsoft. Like Sony has Square Enix, where like they'll never really go with anyone else. Like if they had to pick and choose between someone, Square Enix would go with Sony. CD Projekt Red will go with Xbox. That's just
I
how it
don't
is.
think so. I think
They've-
CD Projekt Red just wouldn't
No,
go with
they're,
anyone.
they're not. I don't
CD
think they
CD
can
Projekt
make
Red,
the
if anything,
acquisition
is
of that company.
they care more about PC than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, they could care less about the consoles. That's my
Granted,
point. That's why I don't
Microsoft-
think they would get picked up. Like CD Projekt Red is when they make their video games, they are PC priority.
Why does
Mhm.
Xbox have all their games then? They're always the one to show it off.
PlayStation has all
probably-
their games too.
They
No,
probably
no,
pay,
think about-
they pay
that's
more
how-
money for marketing.
Showcasing the
marketing.
games.
That's yes, yeah, Dark. That's called marketing exclusivity rights. They're like it's whoever gets it. Xbox got the marketing rights for Elden Ring when they got revealed that. Is From Software in bed with Microsoft? No. It's just like that's marketing rights. It's a whole different
Xbox has,
conversation.
like you said about Xbox having more money, Xbox just has more money to throw at you to get their games on their showcase. That's all it is. It's not like CD Projekt Red prefer to be on the Xbox showcase. If it was up to CD Projekt Red, they probably prefer to just be at like the Game Awards, like where they're gonna get the most eyes on them.
Now, Fusion, I do want to ask, Remedy, could they be acquired?
I doubt it.
They just
I
did
think
Alan
they
Wake
wanna
2,
stay
right? That's
independent.
what they just did, right?
Yeah, Alan Wake
Well,
2.
Alan Wake
which-
2,
I don't know.
yeah.
If I had
Which
this release
they
Alan
did
Wake,
it-
I'd be
oh.
feeling myself. I'd be like, you know what?
No, I don't think they
We got-
need to do that. I think that's my thing is I don't think it's PlayStation in a weird spot because on the publisher side, there's no one that is sticking out right now. It used to be Square, and at one point it was Capcom for them, but they've kind of we've gotten past that. We're years past that where it makes sense anymore. It would still be great for them, but like we're years past that where like we don't have right now a spot where we're like, okay, Sony should jump on this like we did 2 years ago. Now we're in a spot where it's like, what do they like? I feel like Take-Two is the one that is just like out there, but it just seems so impossible.
That's
But
never
keep in
happened.
mind, with these deals, it's very much a situation of like what's available at the time. If you would have came to anybody a few years back and be like, "Oh yeah, Xbox is they're looking at Activision right now," you would have got laughed at. Like
Yeah,
it could
no.
be literally
But they were
anybody.
in a low spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like you can make the argument for Ubisoft, but they're not really in a low spot right now. They kind of hit it like
I mean,
a little
look,
bit of a
Ubisoft
bomb.
just made one good game recently. Okay, so I don't know.
Yeah. Let's hype them up.
They
Well,
got- they-
I
they
don't
got
know.
Prince of Persia. That's about it.
I imagine we'll get like small acquisitions, like the Shift Up, the studio making Stellar Blade, stuff like that.
What I
I think
do
that
think-
makes sense for PlayStation's portfolio, but I don't imagine anything like of
I-
the major developers.
I think if there is something that's going to happen or has a chance, I think Embracer Group's gonna collapse, and then Sony's gonna sweep that up real quick.
I don't think Embracer
I don't
Group
think it's this year.
collapses until 2025. I think
They
they're
got
just
one
gonna
more
lay
year
some
left.
people off.
There's no guarantee that they're gonna get a publisher this year, but if they were to get a publisher, I feel like that would be the situation a little bit. They'll be like, okay, yeah, let's go.
I do
I
think
think
do think
some
Sony
of the
is in-
studios. Go
I do
ahead,
think-
Bench.
I do think Sony's in a rare situation, and unfortunately favorable, that if Embracer did collapse this year, Xbox can't sweep any of that up.
mean,
at
they
least
can.
this. I
No,
don't
Xbox
think.
can sweep that up.
I
They
don't
can
think.
they could probably get Crystal Dynamics.
They can get
I don't
Crystal
think
Dynamics.
because
They can get
Xbox is in a
that's the
situation
one.
to acquire this year. I don't think Xbox buys anyone this year.
I know. I mean, I disagree with that though, because like
they
in a
can't- look,
situation,
if a
they
situation
just
came up
acquired
where
they just acquired Activision Blizzard. They're in a situation where like on a high, and they want to see if they can acquire more. And if
if
an
it's a
Embracer
small
Group
deal
collects
too,
them, they're
it
gonna
can,
try to
I
acquire
forgot
some more.
what the limit is, but if it's small enough, they can buy it without even having to go to like the system.
I will say,
yeah.
Grant, he's not CL BL, but Jess Corlin had a good article even a while ago where he was talking about like how he kind of Binch's perspective, where like he thinks after this acquisition that Activision went through, you would see like a year or two where they just don't acquire anyone because they have to, like, once you acquire something that big, like we saw with the layoffs, you have to worry about that company now. Like you have to go in there and like look at the games being worked on. You don't have all that time to go
True.
out and be like, we're gonna bring in more. Like they can't stop. They can't just keep bringing people in and you just run out of things to do or space. Like you know what I mean? Like it just can't happen that way.
Why didn't nobody tell this to Embracer Group?
Yeah, exactly. They could end up like
Well,
they would
yeah.
never end up like Embracer Group, but it could be a situation where you just keep buying and buying and buying. Like at some point, Xbox has exactly what they need. They could get like Crystal Dynamics or something if they really wanted to, but Xbox has no reason to go out there and be like, we're gonna get Remedy next, or like we're gonna get this
They
next.
can
Like
if they
they're in
want
a
to. That's the
perfect.
thing. They're not in a
like,
situation where
spot.
like they can't get anything. Like, if they
Oh,
want,
yeah, they're a
this is not the
$3 trillion
Xbox.
company.
This isn't the Xbox.
I think
thing.
they
This is for
should
Sony.
at the moment.
I don't think Xbox has the manpower to worry about Activision Blizzard King on top of bringing in someone new. I don't think that's in the cards right now.
Let's go back to Sony though.
I can't believe that my PlayStation podcast got hijacked by Xbox Talk.
It's Moon's fault.
I
He's just
think
quiet, man.
if
I'm
anybody
just
were
playing
to,
Prince of Persia, so I'm not involved.
like, he's playing the one good
playing games during
Ubisoft
the
game.
podcast. Fusion, you and me, we're the only ones locked in.
No, I'm not
lost,
playing
man.
Genshin anymore.
I'm-
Don't
He
worry.
I'm not
turned-
playing it. I've been like locked in this entire time.
He lost it.
I wish I was playing Tekken.
I think what you were saying earlier, Wolf, is 100% correct. That they're going. A publisher it would not surprise me this year if they got a publisher. I don't know who it would be. I think Square's still their best like bet, even though Square's been working with Xbox. Like I still think if anyone's going to do it at this point, it would probably be Square, unless it's a shock like Xbox and Activision. There's nothing that stops us waking up one day and PlayStation acquiring Take-Two or something crazy, because that's what happened with Xbox. We just woke up and they're like, what? Like Call of Duty is not owned by Xbox. Like
But with Square, the only way I see Square selling is if somehow 14 fails. If 14 goes under, Square is done for. That's the only thing keeping them afloat.
Yeah.
So if
So
something happens
that
to
game is
14,
really
better
good.
help.
I will say, unfortunately, I have to get negative about my homies at Sony. I do think
Always
Sony-
doing.
Sony has. I think they're getting more trouble than they thought it would be worth with their Bungie deal.
Yeah, we gotta
I-
talk about Bungie. Let's talk about Bungie. That's a good transition. Okay, so Bungie is clearly kind of like the big elephant in the room right now with Sony. Very much, hey, what have you been doing for me lately? How do you guys think the Bungie, like, what's gonna happen? Is PlayStation going to fully take over Bungie?
Yeah. It'll happen. I think it happens soon after the final shape launches. I don't think that's going to do well. I think pretty soon we're going to wake up and Sony's taken over Bungie. A lot of the Bungie leadership's out. So
Well, it depends, because it's possible the final shape does really well for whatever reason. But then, if that does happen, it'll be up to Bungie to keep that pace going. And I don't know if they'll do that. Or maybe because they gotta move away from Destiny. Yeah, that's what the problem. Destiny's the issue. Move away from Destiny. If they can do that somehow, then like they can stay.
I mean, they're trying. They're trying to have stuff other than Destiny. I mean, you see, oh my god,
Marathon.
That's it. How the fuck did I forget about it? But yeah, they have Marathon coming
But
up
in order
soon.
for this to work, this
like,
next
next
expansion
year.
has to hit. If it doesn't hit, then yeah, they're going to Sony fully.
Exactly. I don't know. Fusion, do you have hopes for good old Bungie?
I was so excited when they got Bungie, but
Sick.
I do. I think there's too much talent at a team like Bungie to like. Obviously, they're going through some rough spots, but there's too much talent and good people on that side of like Bungie to like. I don't think PlayStation takes. I don't see a world where PlayStation completely takes over yet. I think like if we're talking, the final shape sucks, and then like Marathon struggles off the rip, then maybe
rip?
like off like when it comes out, like a Marathon not doing great either.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Then
Well,
like
they
maybe
don't-
something happens like that. But
So, sorry to cut you off, but they don't have until Marathon releases. They have until the final shape. That's it. But that's all they got.
They ain't making it to Marathon.
They have to
the
do this
final
now
shape
or
is kind
never.
of their big deal.
What if?
If
What are the chances Marathon eventually gets canceled?
none.
It's not gonna get
None.
canceled. The only difference that will happen is that it'll go from third party to fully exclusive.
That's my thing. The one I like exclusives. So I'll say the one plus of PlayStation getting Bungie completely is I feel like a lot of Bungie would start becoming exclusive. Not
All of
everything
Sony.
because you're
No,
going to
Pretty much
lose.
everything besides Destiny.
No, I think there would some
What about the
because you
plus
No,
want
they
Xbox
keep
Xbox to be
Destiny.
out there.
That's too much for Destiny. Destiny's too big to just make full.
Oh, yeah,
exclusive.
Destiny would be
Destiny will be the
multi-platform.
only thing, but everything else will be exclusive.
But I'm saying there's probably stuff that Bungie could put out that could still be multi-platform, like multiplayer wise, because you just that's wasting money. That would be the same as like not the scale, but it would be like if Call of Duty went fully exclusive. You're just wasting money at that point.
I mean, then you have what Bungie helping out with factions.
No,
That's the
let's
biggest
not.
L
We're
of the
not
Bungie
actually,
stuff.
let's not bring it up. Let's not bring it up.
I mean, that's
don't
part of
want- I
Sony.
can't do
That's
it.
part of Sony. If you want to talk about it.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Your
No,
boy,
but
your boy,
Transition into live service.
your boy Jimmy Ryan made this big
Listen.
push for live service titles, and one
We
of
don't
these
know if our
titles.
king. We don't know
He's
if he was
gone.
the
Let him
reason.
go.
Let him
Bro is
rest.
obsessed with this man.
Weren't you guys saying that he still has 6 months? Or
No,
not
2
6
months.
a couple months?
Less than 2 months
Transition
now.
Right? So,
Bro,
so he made this
I want you
big
to
push.
Dark, if you're still talking about Jim Ryan after he leaves, then you're obsessed. All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
This is my chance. But anyways, he made this big push for live service titles, and they had factions who's been cooking for who knows how long. They're damn near done at this point, and they were
That's
like,
quite good too.
yeah, we
It
had to
would have been
cancel
so
this because
good.
if you would have gotten this, you would have gotten The Last of Us. You wouldn't have gotten The Last of Us 3, and we all know how much people wanted that. So,
I do think, while you're saying some negatives about Jim Ryan, I think his legacy overall is going to be
Big
extremely
legacy.
positive.
the last
Well,
two
I mean-
things he did was the live service push and then the PS Plus thing. You want to
Did
talk about the PS
Jim-
Plus thing?
Did Jim Ryan really do that much? Like, listen, I love Jim Ryan.
He's a
He
legend.
did,
sweetheart.
everything.
He's a
legend.
sweetheart, but like,
He did everything.
he-
He did
no,
he did the PS Plus stuff too, right?
God, can I speak? This is why you always got Jim Ryan in your mouth. Go back to Phil Spencer. My viewpoint is Jim Ryan basically took over PlayStation when they were already on top. So he was like, let's just let it coast. He's a businessman. He understands business. He made a bad call with the live service push. I will fully say that. But the question, who's going to replace him now that he's gone? And
won't.
obviously we don't know much about like the corporate like side of PlayStation. There's a lot of names that have been kind of going around. Like, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Wolf,
I
you
think
should
it'll be.
replace him.
I think it's gonna be someone we've never heard of.
Wait,
Wolf
Dark,
should
what'd you
replace
say?
him. You should replace him.
No.
Get Bloodborne out here.
No, so what's
You
gonna
should
happen if
replace
I replace him? If I replace him, I'm gonna make Fusion my vice president. I'm gonna make
Okay.
Dark my janitor, and I'm
Damn,
gonna
okay.
make
That's
I'm gonna
fucked
make
up.
I'm gonna make Bloodborne 2. I'm gonna cancel Last of Us 3. I'm gonna make a
And
Jack.
Okay, hold on. As the vice president, I decline.
Overruled, bro. Get out of here.
But no, I don't know. It's like
I think it's the
I
guy
did-
from Insomniac. I can't remember his
Ted
name.
Price. I want Ted
Yeah,
All
Price
of
Ted
so
Sony's
bad.
gonna be a Marvel studio? That's crazy.
No, what Ted Price is an extremely talented developer. I would love him. He is a genius businessman. He would do so good. But in my eyes, for a role as big as the CEO of PlayStation, they're gonna hire internal to like the PlayStation like corporate ladder. And there have been some names, I don't remember them. There was the idea of Shuhei Yoshida, and while I would like that, he straight up got demoted. So
Yeah,
they're
he's
not gonna
not doing
demote him and then promote him to the
He
president.
loves his
as a
me out.
indies.
cool-
Like he
Hear me
likes
out.
where he's at.
Wolf,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
cook.
he's happy.
I'm gonna cook. Sean Layden
Oh,
is making
God.
his grand return.
What if they just
I
get
love
Neil
Sean
Druckmann?
Layden, but never. I
He's
feel like he'd
intense,
never be
man.
back.
He's done.
Your Lord and Savior, Neil Druckmann.
Maybe someone other than Druckmann.
Will you get factions if he becomes the CEO?
No, he's gonna cancel it again.
Neil Druckmann wouldn't want the job. He would
Yeah, I
not want
know.
the job. He
I don't know.
loved The Last of Us and like being a director and everything else. I don't think he would. Like Herman Holst is my guy. That's who, like I truly want, but I don't know.
I think what Bench said earlier is right. I think it's gonna be someone that we haven't heard of. Either that, there were a lot of.
What if it's
different
Reggie?
That would be raw, dude. There was this idea of Hiroki
It'd be
Totoki,
raw.
who's currently he's gonna be the interim president while Jim Ryan leaves. I can't imagine Hiroki Totoki becomes president either, because like they would have just straight up said he's the new CEO if that's the case.
A fun name to say, Hiroki Totoki.
Also, I
Yeah.
wonder. I don't think he'd last more than 2 weeks before the new. I actually,
That's crazy.
as in, like, I think the new president is like
They know.
soon. Yeah, I think it's soon. I think they already like know almost at this
I
point.
think-
So I don't think that dude's staying
No.
as the interim president for very long.
Just a
I think-
rumor.
I think we have a interim president for a year or two.
I think. Call me crazy. I think it's less than like a month. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think it's gonna be quick.
That's fucked up.
Actually, I think there's a. I think I know he was already like announced interim president. I still think there's a chance we get to the day Jim Ryan leaves, and we don't. We need an interim president. They already have someone. They're just like we just skip the interim president. We got him. Like
I mean,
someone's
wouldn't
there.
they give the interim president a chance?
No, he's just there. You don't have to. He's just there to just like. They're
Well, yeah,
the
he's
interim
just there
president's
to like
just-
run day-to-day things.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's like he's like the fail safe. Like if you get to the time where you don't have actually someone to replace Jim Ryan day one, you're like, well, we needed someone, so you pick your best like option who's the fail safe. Like he has no like there's no 100% guarantee that he even starts the day as president. Like when Jim Ryan retires, I assume he will because I assume we would hear by now if they had someone more lined up, but I don't think he'll be there very long. If he, like I said, even if he's there for a day. It could be 2 years like Banks. That would be kind of weird. Like Banks said, I don't know.
Hasn't Sony historically had long interim presidents?
I don't know. I'm not that much of a Sony pony to know the president history.
So yeah, that's
a year.
not really. From what I've seen, they tend to get a new president pretty quickly afterwards. I'm the Sony pony that knows this shit. I'll take over. But like it is kind of a thing where like they get an interim president for like a week or so, like not long enough to really be. Don't quote me on that. Maybe I'm getting them confused for a different company, but like I'm pretty certain that's the case. That they usually get their next president pretty quickly. Because before this was Andrew House, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Andrew House.
Moving. Yeah, man, I missed that guy. Moving on. I do want to talk about real quick PlayStation Plus. Do we think there's going to be any changes in regards to PlayStation Plus, specifically extra and very much premium? I want to talk about premium. That
payers, am I right?
Oh my god, this guy always got Jim Ryan in his mouth.
I didn't even see Jim Ryan. You don't know brought up Jim Ryan.
Because I always think about it positively. I love that.
Oh, you think about this PS? You support the PS Plus deal? What they did?
No,
that
no one
was
does.
insane.
When did I say that? When did I say that? I said I like Jim
I think
Ryan.
this positively.
He
Oh
can
my
like the
God,
he can
when
like
did
the
I say that?
person and not the PlayStation Plus thing.
That is crazy. He's putting words in my mouth, Fusion. I don't know why I keep going to you. It's just like I need your support.
But yeah, this
no,
was nonsense.
No, that was bullshit. The fucking whole price increase. What are their plans with premium at this point? Because it's like, oh, you can play a retro catalog of games, and we add like 2 every 5 months, and it's like you have the entirety of the PS1, PS2, PS3. With PS3, don't even get me started on that. Oh man, we can't figure out how to make you play games on PS3 natively. You made the console. If anyone can figure it out, you can. It's ridiculous.
I know they had. I keep seeing tweets about like I forget if it's PS2 or PS3. For some reason, I'm leaning towards PS2. Like that Sony has been working behind the scenes on the PS2 like emulator or whatever they're doing. I'm pretty sure like Mystic Ryan has made multiple videos on it at this point. That like it's almost like confirmed that they've been working on it, but they haven't confirmed it themselves. Like there's so much evidence that it's out there that like will be dumped into premium one day. but we're just still waiting. Like I could care less at this point because I
I would
don't have
hope.
premium. Like I just think premium's a bad. It's like what $150 or something crazy.
Yeah, it's their highest
$180
tier. It's
for
their
the year.
highest tier, and you get the least out of it. I don't know. They're with me right now. I'm like, what are you doing with premium? At this point, just cut that and just put it as part of extra, because it's clear you do not give a shit about premium. Like getting the retro catalog and what you get, like game trials or something through premium.
Yeah,
It's like, what the fuck is this? This is
Get
silly.
some
Like, let's
demos
stop
then.
this.
There's payable demos.
Payable demos. God bless America.
At least
But I don't know.
your stuff comes over, like it saves your data, but who cares at that point? I mean, it's
I
kind of
mean,
cool, but
the
it's
demo's
sucks that's
pretty
locked
cool.
behind. Yeah,
I mean, the demo's cool because that's how I got to try Baldur's Gate 3, and now I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I will play this game at some point.
it
But
is
yeah,
cool.
it
I
should
guess
not
it
be a
sucks it's
part.
locked.
It should not be a part of the highest
150
tier.
a year. Yeah. That's what we're saying is basically like, at this point, just get rid of premium and roll it into extra, because I feel like not enough people are even paying for extra. I know, Moon, you pay for extra. Is there anything extra can do to like kind of make that like tier work better for you, or even it arguably maybe compete with Game Pass in the future?
Day one games.
Yeah, that's not
They'll
happening.
never do
Other
it.
than day one, other than
No, because outside of
like Sony.
outside of day one games, I mean, PS Extra is basically Game Pass. It's just a bunch of their first party games, some third parties thrown in there, and yeah, literally the only thing that's missing is day one games. Besides
They'll
that,
never
you
do that.
you guys keep saying that's like they don't have an answer to the Game Pass. They have it right there. They're just missing the extra step.
Yeah,
but
I mean
the thing
that's the big
is,
thing though. Is
they
that
went into
extra
why they
step
wouldn't do
is
it. There you go.
They don't have the.
the
They can't
PlayStation
sacrifice
part
the
of it.
capital for sales like Microsoft can.
They're milking it because they like
That's the
doing the buy it
The
on
they get
premium
PlayStation,
enough
shit.
money.
and then
They
they
get
wait.
enough money out of that.
They wait a couple years and then they bring it to PC. I think it's 2 years now. That's what people are figuring out.
No, it's like I think it's like a year. Well,
No,
they got like a weird rhythm. It's like a year.
it's
or
2 years.
It's 2 years. Okay, that's what
Yeah.
it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, it is interesting when you do say it's like very much like it is their competitor to Game Pass, but like you said, that day one, it's like the one thing they're missing, but it is a very powerful part of that Game Pass model. I mean, do you see like maybe expect more day one indies or smaller
That
games?
would definitely
like
be a
stuff
plus.
like
I mean, we saw the success with Stray. We had that.
Sea of
What was that other
Stars?
game? Humanity had that.
yeah, Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars. Like there has been already great success of putting indie games or like these AA games on this thing, and it gets a lot of people into it. Like I'm pretty sure a lot of people got into Sea of Stars and Stray because it was available day one on PS Extra. Now, if they start putting games exclusively on PS Premium, that's going to be a problem.
I
Yeah,
remember.
that's the thing. They can't
I
do
remember
that because nobody pays for premium. Sorry,
there
go
was a quote from Jim Ryan, your boy, your Lord and Savior.
Oh my god,
He
he
came
always
out
talks
and
about
word for word he said that people have told him, like in closed spaces, that they do not like Game Pass, that they would not be doing it. You remember
Right,
that?
yeah.
That was a couple years back.
Isn't it weird how much this guy talks about Jim Ryan?
I think it's Jim Ryan as well. My thing is, I actually think one way would it help Moon if like they were like, okay, Concord and Fair Games. I know you probably are excited for those games, but like if like those level first party games where it was like
I
they're
can see
gonna be on
that.
PC, but they're also like their live service stuff. If they were day and date with their live service stuff, would that help extra?
I think, well, anything that gets added day and date is going to help extra because that's what people want. People want new games. So even if, granted, I'm not the audience for those kind of games because those are all multiplayer live service games, but it is definitely, that's the route live service games should be going, is either part of a subscription service or free to play. And because people don't want to drop $60, $70 for a multiplayer game that they may or may not like and then have to deal with that. Whereas a single player game, it's a little bit less, but there's a weird commitment to buying a $60 multiplayer game, and then putting it on a
Especially-
service helps it. It helps people be like, okay, I'm going to try this game out. Maybe it'll hook me in. I'm pretty sure there is a larger portion of people who try out a multiplayer game because it was on a subscription service or it was free to play, and then they get hooked into it rather than the fear of spending a $60 for a game and then not liking it.
Especially in this era of like free to play multiplayer games. I mean, Fortnite alone, like it is so much harder to go for a premium multiplayer game. So I do agree. Like I think Concord and Fair Games are the type of games that would get 2024. Like they get the date, and then it's day and date on PS Extra. Hey, spend that money and
Is
you can
Foam
play
Stars
like
PS
for
Extra?
free.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Foam Stars got
I
announced.
was
It's
gonna
going
say, I
to
think
PS
it
Extra.
is. I just
Yeah,
thought about that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Which is like, but that's what these live service games should do. Like Moon was saying, that's what I think. And I remember, I'm pretty sure we talked about this a year ago on the podcast when we first started, where it's like, your live service games are your perfect things to be like, if we're gonna test the day and date theory, it's these games. Like you throw these games in there and you see what happens. If it doesn't work out, okay, it doesn't work out. You're not losing much. You have your live service game that's gonna be on PC because these live service games are already gonna be day and date with PC. So like you already have the PC like ecosystem, then you have your day and date like PlayStation Extra ecosystem, then you'll have the people who don't have the subscription that pays like for the like however much these live service games are going to cost. Like I feel like that would be their best strategy, other than making these games free, and they're not going to be free because they're first party PlayStation games.
I mean, they should already be seeing some of the success of it because I would assume a game like Sea of Stars got more popular downloaded on PS Extra because it was announced first there. I mean, they announced Sea of Stars on Game Pass really late, but then also you see Stray, that game is now forever associated with Sony because it was firstly there, it was on PS Extra, a lot of people played it, then it got nominated for Game of the Year. It's like they should already be seeing the value of putting games day and date there. Sure, you want to hold your premium status, be like, oh yeah, we're not putting Spider-Man 2, we're not putting God of War Ragnarok on service, but all these other games, why not? It can only
Yeah.
benefit you.
I think they're like
Definitely.
Helldivers 2 should be on Extra.
Yeah,
I get,
same- yeah,
like
Helldivers-
I don't
we
understand
could
why
see
it's
that
not,
announcement soon. By the time like they announced the Extra, like it's coming to PS Extra, like very like close to the release of the game for some reason. I don't know why. So like it very much like Helldivers 2 could be announced for Extra like February 1st, like in the month it comes out.
It wasn't Outriders on subscription. Like wasn't that on
It
Game
was on Game
Pass?
Pass.
Yes,
It
that was
launched
Game
on
Pass.
Game Pass.
I would say I'm pretty sure that was on subscription. And like a lot of people played Outriders because of that.
Same.
And I remember
tried
being
it out.
salty that I had to spend $60 on PlayStation when I could have got on a Game Pass.
I do want to
Yeah.
talk.
Do you think there's a
I do want-
timeline out there where Stray didn't launch on PS Extra and then it didn't get nominated for Game of the Year because not as many people played it?
No,
Maybe.
because
I
like the people who nominated
I
it are
wish.
the like reviewers. Shut up, Bench. I never
He's a
liked you.
Stray hater, bro. Stray's awesome.
Not a
He's
game
a
of the
little
year
good.
contender.
It was like the sixth
Wah,
pick.
wah.
Like,
You
there wasn't-
Xenoblade, shut up.
I also don't like
wait,
that.
what is this?
No, I was
Cats
just
suck.
saying
he called
he
us
keeps
Stray.
talking. He keeps talking. Can we get? I want to point out real quick. Bench was so excited to do this podcast, and he's talked the least.
Yeah,
Fucking
I'm
all
pretty
He's
sure
ready
that's
to
me.
cook. He's ready to cook, bro. Give him some time.
Give
I'm
me
pretty sure
some
that's me
time.
who's been
Well,
not talking the most.
Yeah, it's been Moon. He's just been listening to the Sony ponies.
I've always said you were my favorite fusion, and because
Wow.
of that, let's go. Let's go. Are you shocked? What do you know the
Wow.
way I treat you every day? Like, I
thought-
wasn't his favorite.
This is crazy.
State of plays. Let's talk about the state of play. And also PlayStation experiences. I mean, the question is if PlayStation Experience is going to come back as
Bring
a
back
format.
PSX, man.
I mean, listen, that's never coming back. I want it more than anything. That nice December show. It was like right before Game Awards. You had that like double onslaught of news and game announcements. That does not seem to be the company Sony is anymore. They very much are. We are offering you a premium product. We're not trying to be your friends.
I'll say this, Dark. If there's an article out there and it was like PSX was solely canceled because Jim Ryan, I would let you have all the Jim Ryan slander in the
Yeah,
world.
sure, Sam.
Jim Ryan would be out. He'd
We're
be
gonna
dead
get.
for
I'm
me.
telling you now. There's a good chance when he leaves, there's gonna be stuff's gonna come out, and we're gonna find out everything. I'm not saying they can do
PSX is
that,
like
but we're gonna find out the truth of stuff.
that's the one thing I miss so much from like it was just like
Sam.
every December it would just be awesome. Like you're like okay, play and like it was always awesome stuff. Like it was genuinely it was like their second E3. Like every year they were like, let's show this off. Like The Last of Us Part 2 was announced at PSX. Like multiple things were like shown. I'm pretty sure Lost Legacy, the HR game, announced at PSX. Like all these games were like E3 level quality things were at PSX all the time.
I mean, it's frustrating, but like, it's just not the company they are anymore. As much as I want it,
They barely do a showcase. We're never getting PSX back. They haven't been on a stage in how long? At least like Xbox has been back on stages. When's the last time PlayStation has went on a stage?
I think Jim Ryan was at CES.
Whenever they did that weird show thing where they moved everyone in the audience to a separate room so man could play a flute to promote
Oh,
what was it, Ghost of
20
that was
Tsushima?
hype. That was hype though. 2018.
18.
No,
Yeah.
freaking Jim Ryan couldn't even stand in front of the judge, bro. They had him on a video call.
Kind
He
of
was
like
on
this
the show.
though.
By the way, this is like the 12th time this man has mentioned Jim Ryan. Like I don't understand
I have
the
a
obsession here.
hot take. I don't think we get a PlayStation Showcase this year. I think we get a couple state of plays, and I think the
We
first
have
one.
to.
I don't think we get a showcase this year.
I don't think we get a showcase either, honestly. Like
Oh,
I
that's
want a
great.
showcase. I want a showcase, but it feels like I feel like they kind of want to move away from yearly showcases, which is so weird to think about. But I think they do the state of plays and they announce even their bigger games at the state of plays. I feel like they want to try to make state of play more of an event rather than like just marketing obligation, which is
The
kind
last
of what it is now.
The last couple state of plays have been great.
Yeah, we can argue that.
Yeah, but then you have really bad ones though. Like, that's the
Yeah,
thing
I
with State of Play. You don't know which one you're getting.
It is so hard to be excited for state of play, which is, by the way, insane for me, the PlayStation fanboy, to say I can't get excited about state of play.
I'm
Big
always
fan.
That
excited.
just says a lot.
I'm always excited no matter what. I copy myself every time.
No, I don't know. I followed the industry for a long time. I was there when state of play first started. Whenever, and you want to know, Fusion? Everyone was roasting the first state of play. I was like, gosh, that was good. Come on, just leave Sony alone. Now I'm like, this stinks.
I just want them back on a stage. I can't believe I just thought about that. It's been like legit 6 years since they've been on a stage. Like they haven't, like at least during Xbox, even during COVID, Xbox like got on a stage and like did things. Like there wasn't fans, but they got on the stage. Like every single PlayStation showcase has been someone standing in a green screen room with blackness behind them, and they're just like talking for a few minutes, and then it's straight into the trailers. There's no like these PlayStation showcases don't feel like events. They literally just feel like I don't know what they
Commercials?
feel like. Yeah, they just feel like straight like a commercial.
commercials.
They feel like they only
Which
do it
Commercials
all
feel like
commercials,
commercials.
I don't know, dude.
It-
I just feel like they're
it feel-
so. They're like
Go
we
ahead.
just have to do it because we have to show off our games. We don't want to do these events. We just have to. We just have to.
Yeah, I mean, usually the big headliner game is a big third party release, so you know it's a marketing obligation. Like it's here's a new Rebirth trailer, a Rise of the Ronin trailer. This is something that they agreed to do because of their third party partnerships. That hey, we have to show this game off, so I guess we'll do a state of play. And it just never feels like hey, we want to do this because we have a lot of shit to show. And after that last PlayStation showcase, I was shocked by the quality of that because we had like 2 or 3 PlayStation showcase bangers in a row, and then that our
We got
fourth
spoiled.
PlayStation showcase, nope, it wasn't there. It showed like kind of the fear of this live service future, which we could talk about right now. Live service was definitely a big thing in regards to PlayStation. They wanted to try to focus in on that sector of gaming. Wanted to see like, hey, we could try to get live service. We want to have a live service game. The question really is, do they stick with that
No.
now that Jim
No.
Ryan is gone?
We've already seen it. They canceled 6 of them, or like
Yeah.
moved past them. Like I think the live service dream is like, I think
Deviation Games.
Concord
canceled
and
them.
Fair Games are too far past to like go back on, and they're probably like, we'll see if they're good games this year. They're supposed to both come out this year. Like those are 2024 first party games. They're supposed to hit this year. We'll see if they're actually good. But like, I think anything past like a year or two out, gone. They're just like, nope, we're moving to something else. Which it's cool. It's good for us on one hand because we didn't want the live service, but it's bad because now these PlayStation studios are again starting back from scratch, and it's going to take longer for them to release a video game. Because if they get spent the last 2-3 years making a live service game and it was canned, they just lost 2-3 years of progress. They're now working on something else. That's another 2 to 3 years before we see their project.
It's wasted time at the end of the day, and that's just really frustrating because like we kind of expect this premium style of game from PlayStation, and the fact that like we saw Fair Games trailer and they were touting it as their big game. That was the game that started their showcase, and nobody is excited for that game. Nobody's even like an inkling of hyped, especially because they didn't even show what the game looked like, and it's supposedly supposed to come out this year. It's just frustrating because I've said my stance on live service games 100 times. I'm not going to repeat myself. I think they're a stain on the industry. I think the industry would be better without them. But they sell. They do well. That's just how PlayStation viewed it, and I think they took a wrong bet. because they realize that people do not buy PlayStations for live service games. They buy it for the big experience games.
You know how deep into the live service poll like Sony was at one point when they had their entire state of play based around Suicide Squad. Like they were like, let's do a Suicide Squad state of play. Like they did that last year.
To be fair, in Sony's defense, I think Rocksteady paid for that.
I mean, they probably did, but it's
easily.
also just like, so like you had an entire state of play around Suicide Squad, a third-party live service game, because Sony was like trying to like get fans to be like, hey, look at these live service stuff. This is what we're gonna do, and then the fans were like, no, and then Sony was like, oh, this isn't sustainable actually, and now we're backtracking, and I feel like it lost wasted time. It lost us years.
I mean, it's just
And
like
factions.
weird.
This PlayStation talk went a lot more negative than I thought it would.
Well, we'll get to the positive. Don't worry. We don't gotta talk about factions. We should stop bringing it up, man. You know, I'm trying to keep this happy. I mean, as we said, we kind of think like the live service talk. Like live service seems to be basically a dead dream at this point for PlayStation. I don't think they're going to continue with it. I think most of their studios have either moved on, or you're in a situation like Concord and Fair Games where it's like, well, we already came this far. We might as well release the game. I'm curious to see where that goes, but I'm also curious to see the rest of PlayStation Studios and where they're going to go. And Fusion, my favorite member, as I've said before, he made a big old Excel sheet of all the first party studios, and I guess we could just roll down this list. We don't have to spend too long on every game, but real quick, we'll just go on each one. Big one right now, Ben Studio. That is one that we've been heard of for a long time. The last game was Days Gone in 2019. So
It's been 5 years.
It has to be shown off this year at the very least.
Confirmed project, nothing. We know nothing about Ben Studio.
Right now, I want to point out on this list of 20 studios, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 confirmed projects. We know
Where are the
nothing
games,
about-
PlayStation?
By the way, 7 of those, 2 of them are support studios. One's a yearly MLB game, and 2 are live service.
Let them cook.
and one of them is a port.
Yeah.
Let them cook.
It's the year
I mean,
of
listen,
Xbox, baby.
No, hey, you had your time last week. Shut up. Anyways, Ben Studio. I mean, I assume they're gonna get their new game. There is the question of it's a new IP. I did hear rumors that it's. Oh, is it? Because I heard rumors of the Uncharted.
Nah, because we've also it's a new IP for the I think for even Ben Studios was like, I'm pretty sure they've used the word new IP. I just haven't that's why it's in the rumored projects, because we haven't seen it yet. So that's why I put it in that thing. But I'm pretty sure they did say it was like a new IP.
I mean, I hope so.
A
Days
new open
Gone,
world game specifically.
I haven't played Days Gone yet. I do want to, but it is kind of an interesting thing where fans love that game, but critics kind of hated it, and it kind of led to it being weirdly it sold well. So I'm kind of surprised, but I guess PlayStation was just kind of annoyed by the critical reception being so low. It kind of felt like a weird stain for them in that regard. So they were disappointed with the performance, even though it did sell well. But yeah, I do think a new IP makes sense. But honestly, the one I want to see is Blue Point. And this is a question we've been seeing for a while. What's Blue Point making? There is the question that Blue Point was making, what's it called? A remake for Metal Gear Solid. I think that's dead in the water because Metal Gear Solid 3 exists. But now it's like, okay, are they making a remake or a brand new IP? Yeah, with Demon Souls in 2020. I think it's a new IP because they straight up said they're making a new IP when they were acquired.
We have leaked art.
We
have that leaked art.
Yeah, so I'm very curious. I mean, is that the question? Is if it's this year? I don't think so. I think that's
we see it this year. I don't think it releases this year.
I do think we see it. Yeah, I mean, we have to see it this year.
That's the thing. Would you guys say you don't see a showcase? I guess they could do it on the state of plays. But if you're looking at this, we'll get through all of them individually. But as just a broad spectrum, look how many new IPs are on this list. Look how many unannounced. Like you said, we only know of 5 or 6 of these actual real games outside the support studios that we actually know of. That's it's the like darkness of Sony that's like depressing, but it's also exciting because we know nothing. So when we get all these trailers and all these game like
It's
announcements,
gonna be hype.
it's going to be awesome to see like all these release like when not Naughty Dog, but when like Sucker Punch logo comes up or like when Ben's logo comes up, we're going to be so excited because we've known nothing. Like we have known absolutely nothing about these games. Or did you know something that I don't know?
No,
Well,
I'm just
do you
gonna say
have
we.
like
I know for a fact what the next Naughty Dog game is. If you want some insider leaks of what it is, bro, I can tell you right now.
A new IP, probably. Don't say something
Yeah,
about a
Grand Theft Auto
remake.
6.
I will beat you up.
It's gonna be The Last of Us 3.
I
And
mean,
then
I
they're gonna
hope
work on
it's
The
The Last
Last
of
of
Us 3, but it won't be.
And then they're gonna remake The Last of Us Part 2.
It
right
won't be
after.
Last of Us
He
3.
just said not to make it's a remake joke. That's a low blow. Fire Sprite. They did Horizon Call of the Mountain. Listen, did they make another VR game or is VR dead? I mean, like
No,
the
the rumor
PlayStation
right now
VR
is
we didn't even make a VR bullet point. I think that just shows how little PlayStation
Yeah.
cares about VR. I assume this is gonna be like a big console game. I don't think
I
we're
think-
this even close to coming though.
I think PlayStation VR 2 gets PC compatibility this year.
I can actually see that. Okay,
Pretty
Bench.
dope of
You
them.
actually said something smart. Nice.
That's dope. I can see it. That new IP horror game from Fire Sprite. The rumors when I
That's
was looking at it was 2025. We'll see how that fits, but
It makes more sense for 2025 because they just put out Call of the Mountain like last year. So I don't think it's anywhere near finished. But who knows? Maybe they surprise us. Fire Walk, which by the way, I really hope Sony renames one of them.
you don't know the kind of funny their little saying they say. Fire
is it?
Fire Sprite is Horizon because Aloy likes Sprite and then Firewall.
Oh yeah, that fucking no, I heard that and I'm like, that is not what I'm doing.
Yeah, Firewall.
Like just call it like Water Sprite or Water Walk. Like just I don't know. It's so weird that there's two Fire studios. I kept getting them confused. But Firewalk, they're doing Concord. Obviously that's this year. Listen, does Concord show well? Are we gonna like see the trailer, the gameplay, and we're like, wait, actually, I might play
You didn't
this
see anything at this point other than the space sandwich they showed up.
burger. Yeah. I want to have faith in it because it is a Sony first party game, but I'm also like, this is literally like their debut game, basically.
It's Sony's
So-
first party, but it's also it's Firewalk, like brand new to Sony. You know what I mean? Like,
I hope
so
it's good. Guerrilla Games. I don't think they're anywhere near ready to show off their next
no.
game. I mean, maybe the Horizon MMO and the Monster Hunter game, but that was a what's it called? Nexon? I forget their names.
Nexon, for the MMO.
So Nexon is doing the MMO, the like kind of Monster Hunter style game, and Horizon 3 is nowhere near like ready to be shown off. I think that's like honestly launch of PS6.
It's crazy that we know
basically
that game's like in the works though. Guerrilla has come out and said they're working on the third Horizon game before like we've seen like Ben's Ben's game. Or anything.
With the way Forbidden West ended, I mean, like it's like, oh, duh.
Oh yeah, you definitely knew you were getting one, but it's just funny that they're just opening like, yeah, we're working on that, while like every other studio under Sony is just like not saying a word.
Next is Haven Studios, Fair Games. We know that. I have zero faith in this game. I think this one's gonna suck. Jade Raymond was like hyped up, like Jade Raymond, the creator of Assassin's Creed. Has she really done much? Like I don't know. I don't want to call her a fraud, but I'm kind of implying she's a fraud.
You might listen to this.
Yeah, if she listens to this, I apologize, Jade Raymond. You're great. Next is Housemarque. Returnal was 2021. I don't think we're ready to see their next game yet. There is the rumor is new IP using canned Returnal mechanics, which I would be super into. But yeah, I don't think we're anywhere near ready to see that game. Insomniac. Predicting Insomniac is really sad because it's like we know.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's the Venom game. I mean, we could see that this year. Is there any
That's
idea
next.
there, Fusion? Because that's the next game.
That's next year.
with
2025. But do we see it this year, or they would try to
Obviously.
do like a year
If
out?
you see it, it'd be very late. Like I feel Venom's a perfect, not even Sony show off game. That's a TGA game to me. Like you show up at the Game Awards,
Yeah.
and you show Venom.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. And then London Studio. This is a really weird one. So London they made Blood and Truth as their last game, the Sony PSVR game. and they're doing this modern fantasy new IP. Did they say this was a multiplayer game? I forget.
Yes. Well, they said co-op. I don't know what
Okay.
multiple, but they did say co-op in their thing.
Live service, baby. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they just scrapped the live service ism of it, but like,
Maybe,
it is.
co-op doesn't automatically mean live service.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I want to see what they're doing because I've heard a lot of good things about.
They said it's their
Blood
biggest like game ever, like their biggest jump in like games.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they go from like VR games to like a big game like this. Now, granted, Sony London is actually a lot older than people think. They did the Getaway on PS2, so they've been around that long. Which that's a pretty decent game. Actually, I enjoy that one. Media Molecule. Media Molecule. I don't.
This is one we know
talk about
nothing
those.
about, by the way. No, I
Yeah.
looked and looked and looked. There was nothing.
Listen. Okay, I'm gonna make a depressing prediction. I think Sony shuts them down this year.
I agree.
I think it's. No, Ben, shut up. You don't know them like I do. But I think in this viewpoint, they don't fit Sony's image anymore. And I don't think Sony really views them as an equal to their other studios, unfortunately. Even though they've made some phenomenal games, I would love if they were viewed as equals and actually continued making great games. But recently there were some heavy layoffs in that studio, and I just think Sony just wants to be done with it, which fucking
It's
sucks.
just more reasons that they have to buy some studios. Like you can't
Exactly.
like Media Molecule. That's just one. You can't just keep losing studios. You just can't.
No, that's sad. Naughty Dog, your favorite Fusion. I mean, do you think the new IP is first or The Last of Us Part
Yes,
3?
I 100% think the new IP's first.
I hope so, because I mean, it's nothing against Last of Us, but I'm now like, give me the new IP. Like, I've seen Last of Us enough. So, I mean, is that this year though? That's the real question.
Coming out? No.
I mean, see it. Of course not. Of course not. But like, seeing it.
Possibly. I just want to feel again. I want to see the Naughty Dog logo and actually feel. Like
I want to feel
this
it, man.
This is Naughty Dog. You know what they need to do with this video game? This needs to be a classic. Comes out this comes out. The trailer starts and we're in the game. Like we have no idea who's made this game yet, and it's just like whatever. It's just a brand new IP of something we've never seen. It looks amazing at the very end. Naughty Dog splash logo. Oh, that's what I want more than anything.
Yeah, that way you get the Naughty Dog haters who are like, "Oh my god, this game looks amazing." Oh, it's Naughty Dog.
Like I want to see Naughty Dog at the very end. I want you to show me this game, kind of like the God of War stuff. We knew it was obviously Santa Monica, but like you just went straight into God of War 2018. Like there was no Santa Monica up there. Like you just went straight into it. Like I want to see something where it's like you don't know who's creating this game yet, but once you see how hopefully good it looks, and you can probably guess, but like by the end of it, it just has the Naughty Dog logo. You're like, okay, they're back.
Then Nixus, their PC porting studio. I assume the next PC port. Yep, I assume their next thing is God of War Ragnarok PC.
No, I think it goes to Tsushima.
Is that still not on PC? I
No,
thought
it's not.
No,
And there's been rumors that it's coming soon.
Although
So it could be
think,
good.
I do think it's both. Though. I think they both.
I think both. Yeah.
The one thing with Ghost is apparently in that rumor though that said it was coming to PC. It's apparently been taking so long because Sucker Punks themselves are doing it.
Oh no.
So maybe Nixus does not ever touch it, which is also scary because that's what Naughty Dog tried.
That's what Naughty Dog did, yeah.
But apparently Sucker Punch has been
Punch
trying to do it themselves.
Very good.
Which is interesting to side note real quick. Naughty Dog now has tried, Sucker Punch has tried, I'm pretty sure another studio has tried. I wonder at any point PlayStation was like, can you guys try to do PC ports just in case we ever want to go day and date with PC? Like, you know what I mean? Because none of these studios none of these studios work on the PC side. They build their games strictly for a PS5. So it's like, I wonder if at some point Sony was like, let's get our premier studios to try to work with the PCs to see if this is a transition we can do. Because until they do that, none of these studios are going to be able to just come out and make great PC ports. Probably, if Naughty Dog can't do it, I don't see most of them being able to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's curious. Then moving on, Polyphony just did GT7 or Gran Turismo 7. The rumored project is they're making the next Gran Turismo.
They already said they're working on the next Gran Turismo, but they just haven't confirmed it. So yeah.
I mean,
it would always be Gran Turismo.
They've only made Gran Turismo since like the 90s. I think they're not making anything different. San Diego studio, guys. I think they're making the next MLB the Show.
It's always just MLB with them as well.
Santa Monica. This is an interesting one. I mean, there is the idea that Cory Barlow game. He's making a new IP, rumored to be a space game. But there's also the idea of an Atreus DLC expand. I hate this term. Expandalone,
Standalone,
similar to Miles Morales. I mean, what do we see first? And even then, is the Atreus thing real?
I think we see
more remakes of the original trilogy.
Oh my god!
I think we see both of
the
these this
original
year.
trilogy.
I think we see. I think they pull in Insomniac, and they do. You know how like on that showcase they showed Wolverine and Spider-Man 2. I think this is what happens.
Yeah.
I think Santa Monica and one of these showcases this year comes out and it's like you see the Atreus DLC, and people are like, oh, or standalone, like excited, and then a couple trailers later, it's a brand new IP and it ends up being Cory Barlog. Like that would be perfect.
Fusion, I want you to know, Insomniac wasn't the first to do that. Naughty Dog was. Because in 2016, they revealed Lost Legacy at PSX, and then that same showcase Last of Us 2. So, like, I think that is like a common thing, more common than we think, of like, hey, here's the small game, and then here's our next big game. I hope it's right, because Sony Santa Monica is probably one of my favorite studios, right there with Sucker Punch. Speaking of Sucker Punch, what is transition? Bench is like adamant about Ghost of Tsushima 2 being this year. I mean, do you guys also?
I don't believe it. I think we see it this year. If it came out this year, though, this year would be really cool.
I want it.
You can't say it's impossible.
I'm not saying
it's impossible.
I'm just saying
it's like a 40%
unlikely.
chance. I'm actually like higher on the idea of it happening, like 40%. I want it. I want it so badly because like Ghost of Tsushima is still one of my favorite PlayStation exclusives, but I don't know, man. Like Sucker Punch is not that fast.
And he released it with like the Assassin's Creed Japan game that's also rumored for this fall. Because if this game is this year, it has to be this fall. It can't be any sooner.
It's going to be a November game.
And it's like released next to Assassin's Creed.
No, I don't think Assassin's Creed is that big. Let's be honest.
I mean, you say that Valhalla made $1 billion.
Assassin's
but the thing is, it's not one of those
in the
games where
world.
you're gonna be scared to put it next to it.
I mean, I think the problem is that like these are both like they are similar settings. Like I get where Fusion's coming from. I don't think
and
Sony
it will be a
Japan
Assassin's Creed game, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to say the least. I want to believe. I do think we see it this year, though. I think that's like certain. It has to be this year.
I think we 100% see it, which is also like that's the thing. Like I'm gonna keep saying it. It's like, yes, it sucks that we're like in the wait and see category, but like it's also exciting that I'm so excited to like see the trailers for these video games. Like I just want to see what these studios are working on.
Team Asobi, this is another one I really want to see their next game.
See, I think this is this year. Binks thinks Ghost is this year. I think Astrobot's this year.
It makes sense because Astrobot was a smaller experience. If they do their next big like Astrobot game, it would be cool.
I mean, 4 years? Like 4 years for Astrobot game seems already long. Like, come on, guys.
Let them.
There was that. It could have been a VR game originally, though, and then they're like, "Oh, let's move it to an actual like the console." Like that's a possibility.
Like Astrobot's the premier PlayStation game, like November, and they're just like 15-hour Astrobot.
Oh, God, I would kill for that, but like, I want it, but like, it is a curious case of like what Team Asobi's kind of been doing. They've been cooking. It's what you're saying, Fusion. Like, if a lot of these, if 5 of these studios show off their next games, I would not be worried about PlayStation's future. But we also have their third-party stuff like Helldivers 2, Pacific Drive, Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin. I think we're all confident in each one of those games. That Helldivers 2 is a bit weird for me because that's the live service one, but like I think it'll at least be fun. And the other 3, I think, are like certain bets will be good. And then,
and those are all with dates, like they're confirmed coming.
Yeah. So then there's the to be confirmed with I'll just. Across the panel, yes or no, if they do come out this year. Stellar Blade.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Phantom Blade 0.
Yes.
No.
I'm gonna say yes. I see no reason why we couldn't.
Silent Shit 2 remake.
Yes, but it won't be.
Yeah.
Yes, and it won't be good. Yeah, I agree with that. Death Stranding 2.
No.
Yes, I think it comes up.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to believe. Marathon.
Never
Oh,
coming
that's
out.
2025. What?
No,
Come
no,
on,
they said
PlayStation, did you forget?
when they announced it the first time, they did say fall 2024.
Yeah, but then
It's late,
the
like late
layoffs
Well,
happened.
yeah, I
It was over
know. I'm just saying, like,
No, fair enough.
it's up
Yeah.
there.
I
Not
get
only
it.
I don't think it will
if
come out,
if
but
if they fail in the next expansion, Sony might just push that back even further. So who knows?
And I
and
haven't
then you're
heard
not
this
gonna know
one.
what Sword of the Sea is, but it's from the devs that made Abzu and the Pathless,
Oh, is that? Wow, I didn't know their next game would be that soon.
and it's only on PlayStation. That's why it's up
That's
there.
actually
All these
it's
games you see on
crazy.
here is only on PlayStation, or like some are also on PC, but there's not a single game on this list on Xbox.
Marathon will be multi-plat if
Well,
things stay the way that it is.
maybe if PlayStation buys them, that just takes them over by that time, according to you. It might not be.
But yeah, that's everything in regards to the studios. I'll
I
just
just want
ask.
to say, real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
when people say they don't have any games, could be true, but let's just say hypothetically, with the third parties, we're looking at 12 to 14 games that you can only play on PlayStation this year. PlayStation exclusives that 12 to 14 only on PlayStation. Like, you could say they have no games, but they're not in like a dire state. We're not looking.
They're not
I'm not.
dire, no.
I'm not hating on Xbox, but we're not looking at that point in Xbox where there was genuinely like 16 months of nothing exclusive to the Xbox. Like there was just nothing to play on that system for exclusive wise. Like we're not close, nearly even close to that. But the thing with PlayStation is they always have some premiere, like 1 or 2 titles every year for the past decade. So it just feels like we're in like the darkness of, like we're in the plague. They just released Spider-Man 2 2 months ago. Like they're going to be okay.
You're fine. Yeah, I think that
Final
like
Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be a game of the year. Like if Ghost
going to
comes
be the
out, like
game of the
Prince
year.
says, like
oh my
I
god.
don't think there any way. There has to be some game, some rumored game on this list has to come out this year. It just has to. If it's the Astro game, if it's somehow Ghost, I feel like something has to come out this year from that list.
MLB The Show 24.
I mean, yeah.
Nah.
Well, that's on Xbox, so I guess I did lie earlier, but none of these are on Xbox. That game is on Xbox.
I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see what PlayStation's cooking up, but I think we talked enough about PlayStation. I mean, any final thoughts on the 2024?
DualSense Edge will get a price cut this year.
Oh, I didn't think about hardware. Is the Pro this year?
No, it's announced this fall.
Announced, but not. Actually, yes, it is this year.
Oh, straight up. I could see it this year, but I feel like
My wallet says
like
please no.
Dude, that
Yeah,
makes me
really.
believe Ghost is coming somehow. They're gonna release the Pro and say like with obviously like it won't be a Pro exclusive, but if they like are like the Pros this November also play Ghost of Tsushima 2, who like has upgraded visuals or something. Bang, she might
That's
be on to
exciting.
something, dude. I don't know.
Let them cook. Let them cook. But yeah, I think that's everything in regards to PlayStation. I think we want to talk about what we're playing.
We do.
Yes, I want to talk about what I've been playing. So I did finish up Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and I think it was a phenomenal Metroidvania. I had a lot of fun with it. But I will say, the one thing that I'm kind of surprised no one else brought up, I really hate the fast travel system in that game. It is so tedious running from place to place slowly. Like there's just not enough fast travel points in that game. I feel like they would have just been better off allowing you to fast travel between the trees rather than create this whole new fast travel like point system. But other than that, I think it was a very solid experience. And also the story didn't really pick up until the second half, and even then I wasn't like as invested as I wish I could have been. But overall, like a very solid like 9 out of 10 game, I would say. And then I played one other game. I don't remember. But yeah, Tekken 8.
You played PalWorld.
Oh yeah, I did play PalWorld. I guess me, Moon, and Ben Shaw played PalWorld. I really enjoy it as a survival game. I'm gonna say straight up, I hate survival games. It's one of my least favorite genres. But something about putting a Pokemon twist on it genuinely just added a lot of fun to me. And like something, there's a addicting nature to like just slowly seeing your base grow up, and then you're getting your pals. They're working on like the farm, and then you're slowly getting the better beds, hot springs. It's like this weird feeling of accomplishment, like slowly and surely, where you're setting up your farm and your area to be self-efficient, and it's like, okay, that's all good. I'm gonna go head out and like take care of like do some exploring, find some new pals. And by the time I come back, like I got all these resources that I get to like mess around with. it's an addicting loop. I really can't admit, I have to admit that, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I want to go back to it, but it's like a Dragon and Tekken,
Yeah.
so that's kind of
I
tough.
think I'm done with PalWorld right now. I put 5 hours in. I mean, it's just a blast. It really started to open up towards the end as well. Seems like a game that just gets better the more you play and more how everything's connected.
I mean, did you have thoughts on PalWorld?
Yeah, it's a lot of the same. It's a very slow start, but once that resource cycle really starts clicking and where it becomes almost automated, it starts to really pick up. I haven't gone too far. I don't know how many hours I've put into it, but I really dawdled on getting to the first boss. So I just beat the first boss, that what's her name, Zoe on Grisbolt boss fight in the tower. I just did that. So
sick.
now I'm trying to
Farther
venture
than
out
me.
into the world more. And yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm going to be slowing down on it. Like, it was my primary game for the past couple days, and then
Things are picking
now
up.
I've got. I'll probably pick it up again at some point because they've already put out their roadmap of what they're planning to do. There's still an audio issue on the Xbox version, so I really want them to fix that because it's been really bugging me.
Is it still
Uh,
there?
yeah, it's
'Cause
still
I
there
didn't
even
notice
after
it
the
on
first
mine.
patch. Yeah, it might have fixed it for some people, but I don't think it fixed for everybody because I still see some people saying there's audio issues.
Yeah,
Um,
I hope that gets fixed. Maybe they
so
should press the create game, the patch game button
just patch
with
game.
the AI.
So it's probably a game I'll just go back to every once in a while, but definitely not right now because we're about to hit this very busy February. But it was a good time. But it's not my time to talk about my other games, so you continue talking, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk about Tekken. This has been like my second most anticipated game going into this year, and I fucking adore it. It's everything I needed it to be. It's more Tekken. It is that goofy ass story. It is some of the best fighting game controls. I am not a big fighting game guy, but Tekken is that fighting game that does it for me. It feels out of this world to play. Like it feels like every bit of, like it feels like it rewards your aggression while also demanding you to stay quiet, like stay calm. You're not forced to be aggressive 99% of the time. It's a lot of footsies, it's a lot of mind games working against the opponent. It's one of my favorite games to watch, like competitive like fighting games for. Is just the like top tier gameplay for that series is just unmatched to me, and it just has one of my favorite rosters in fighting games. Like you can play as a fucking bear. Like that's all the like selling you need to do on Tekken. And even then, like it has a story mode. And fighting game story modes are always kind of like tough, but like to me, Tekken 8 so far has been an absolute blast because of how ridiculous it is. It doesn't take itself so seriously. It just has this goofy storyline that has been a continuing storyline since Tekken 1. It is like they have not done reboots or oh this isn't canon. No, just just a continuing storyline across each mainline entry, and I absolutely love it for that reason. I'm gonna be playing this game daily. This is kind of like my cool off game. Like say when I'm playing like a big JRPG, it's like I just want to punch some things right now. This is my game. It's everything I needed. It's gonna be in my top 5 by the end of this year. I guarantee it, just for that alone.
I'm
And,
also
yeah.
playing Tekken, if I can talk about that. This is my first Tekken game. I've played about 20 hours of Street Fighter 6 and 20 hours of Guilty Gear, and I really enjoyed both of those games, but they definitely have some sort of a more like you hit a wall more than learning. But with Tekken, I immediately was pressing buttons and cool things were happening, and it just felt really good. And the 3D, that's finally starting to open up a little bit with that being different. Like I dodged an opponent's attack while like going into the 3D like plane kind of thing, and it just like and then I hit and then I won the match, and that just like felt so cool. So I definitely think this is something like it'll also be somewhat of a cool off game, like Wolf was saying, on top of Persona for a while. I mean, I'm just like found my main, which is Nina. I mean, did beat the arcade quest as well, but I mean, I've spent tons of time, hours in training mode with Nina, and I'm still like I can't hold combos together like at all. But I'm slowly getting
You'll
there, and it
figure it
feels
out.
good. It feels good.
It took
So
me a while.
yeah, it's just there's definitely still some learning, but I feel progression more than I do with other fighting games.
Well,
So I'm
that's the
really
thing.
enjoying
Like it
this.
has some of the best tutorialization of any fighting game I've
Mhm.
ever seen. Like they even have an assist mode where you can just press L1. It's like, hey, here's some like starting things that you can like use to like figure out how your character plays and what you want to do with it. And like the fact that you found a main is actually impressive because I'm still kind of like rolling around with like 3 characters right now. I think I'm going towards Victor because like that sword is really fucking cool, but I don't know. Like it's just there's a lot of things I'm thinking about with Tekken right now. It's beautiful. But you could talk about your other games, Bench.
I have been playing Last of Us 2 Remastered, and I think I'm about to hit the halfway point. I mean, I'm just like, it's been an incredible game. How do I, on my most recent scenes, is like, it's something that you'd think any other company, any other developer would make it like such like a big build up and reveal, but it's like already happened in universe. So it was just very natural, and I just really enjoyed that. The stealth action combat is just some of the best I've ever played, and I just like want more combat encounters because it just feels so good to play. And just like the acting and it's such a good game. I can understand why Fusion loves it so much.
Have you had any story moments where you're like, oh, that didn't land for me, or has it just been like everything's hit for you the way
I
that
don't
they
think
kind of
so.
intended it to? Interesting. Because I know there's like a big moment early on in the game that a lot of people are kind of down
Nope,
on.
he's a king.
Which, by the way, is silly.
He's a king, bro. He knows.
So yeah, and
Hey,
then
hey, I listen.
I enjoyed PalWorld like I was saying. But then I did the unthinkable. I downloaded Genshin Impact, and I've played like
Oh my god, you're adding this.
yeah, I played like 12 hours in the last week. I mean, there's nothing here that everything will go over y'all says, but I'm enjoying it. Rolled a 5-star
I
character,
hang on,
rolled
I
the right
played it too.
token, so I finished the prologue, and I finally hit Adventure rank 23, so I can continue the story. So that's been good. Then I've
Wait,
also been
hang on. It goes over. I played Genshin before you.
I played it
yeah,
like a couple months back too.
but I'm farther.
Don't farther. I played like 15
He's
hours.
he's the bigger Genshin pony, buddy. Let him have it.
I'm just saying. Listen, I mean, I enjoyed Genshin for what it was, but like, it was just kind of like tough for me to continue. But
But
hey,
yeah,
I'm
and
glad
then
you're enjoying it.
we talked about Tekken, and that's all I've been playing. So
Okay. Fusion. I mean, you were also playing Last of Us 2 Remastered. I know you played this bad boy in 2020. Is it just as good as you remember?
Yeah, I don't got much to say. It's still. I might be liking it more than I remember it somehow. Like
Wow.
I'm just.
Look at you.
I am loving this video game. I'm not gonna like. I think I talk about Last of Us Part 2 on every podcast somehow. Like someone always brought it up. Usually because Dark just says something stupid about a remake. I just have to come and somehow Last of Us is always brought up somehow. So like it's always in me talking about it. But like yeah, like Bink said, but I've always said it's a top 5 stealth combat and personally my favorite. But even going back and playing it now, it's like somehow better than I remember. I don't know if it's because it's the 60 FPS or like I'm playing at like unlocked frames, but it just feels even better than it did 4 years ago. And kind of like Bink, it's like every combat encounter, I'm just like, I could replay this combat encounter 10 different times. Like it just feels so good to like just shoot and stealth and just do everything in it. And like the characters, it's like I'm falling in love with all the characters again for a second time. Like I've said on this podcast, Ellie is my favorite video game character. And like seeing things, it's actually kind of cool this time seeing things in the story where like I know and I'm picking up on now a second time because I know like in the future what actually happens to like certain characters and certain moments of the game. So it's kind of cool to see me replaying it and being like, wow, I'm picking up on this. Certain music segments I'm like picking up on that are really small that I would have never thought of my first time playing, but now that it's my second playthrough, like I'm picking up on things like that, where I feel like in making it a different enough experience where like this replay almost feels new, like to me.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
I'm happy
that's all
for
I've been
you.
playing. So
I get how much you love that game, so I'm very happy that you haven't fucked around with No Return yet, right?
oh no, and I have my plan is to roll credits, and then I want to do. There's 2 lost levels that I heard are like actually really good, and some people were like they should have even been in the story, like they were that good of lost levels. And then I also want to watch the making of that they put in there also where it's Neil and like I'm pretty sure Ashley Johnson and like some of the actors are in there talking about like certain scenes and like certain scenes they were going to change and like blah blah. They all have that in game, so I want to do that as well. And then obviously play like I want to try out No Return, but it's also like I think No Return's probably going to be awesome because that combat's so awesome. But No Return seems like it's something where it's like you'll go just back to
The
every few
standard
months
for
just to play it.
factions.
Yeah, like I just feel like No Return was never gonna be my main way to like play this remaster or whatever. Like I was always more excited just to replay the game, but I'm definitely gonna try out No Return because I've only heard like amazing things about No Return.
Dark.
Hey,
The man who Fusion just inadvertently roasted. I just know.
Fusion stays talking shit, but you know.
What? Listen, I think we run like a really nice podcast,
Yeah,
really
we
sweet.
for the
tweet.
most part.
Just don't
We
bring up
talk a
any
lot
of
of
the
shit.
comments towards bench.
We talk a lot of shit, but we're all pretty chill with one another. Yeah, so I played Red Dead 1, and this was on my list for a super long time, especially after playing 2, because I really love 2. We were having a debate, like a back and forth, of if you needed to play Red Dead 2 to play Red Dead 1. You do not.
You know.
This is just a really fun cowboy game. The story in this game is absolutely atrocious.
Oh
It's
my
really,
god, this
it's
guy's
bad.
wrong. He's an idiot. He's stupid. No, I'm kidding.
No, I was genuinely surprised that like there is next to no story in this game. It is really weird. It's a bunch of randomness that doesn't really connect to the
That's
overarching
every
plot.
Rockstar
No,
game.
no. Like I know you keep saying that. When you play this, it is when you play the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. Imagine
I
Gorma,
played
because
it.
I know people like didn't like Gorma in Part 2. Imagine Gorma, but without of anything that like improves the characters, and that's like over half of the game. It's just you're just there for whatever reason. There is a couple cameo
don't believe
characters that make you when you play through it again and you see what I'm talking about. There
I,
is a
again,
couple,
I've gone 10 hours in on my first playthrough, and I don't know. I didn't see any of those things you were saying.
I don't think there's 2 halves of the game. So like the map is split in half. So like the first half you're on the top, then it's the bottom. If you make it to the bottom half, that's what I'm talking about. So after you like finish the tutorial area. But
yeah.
overall, it's
I
just
know.
a fun cowboy game. Like if you liked Red Dead 1's combat, you're gonna like this. That's about it.
Wait, you
It
had
was really
another
weird.
game on here.
Yeah, I get to that game in a second. One thing
okay.
that was really weird. The ending is completely optional. The game just plops you like when a big event happens, and then the credits don't roll or anything. They just put you in, and there's no mission marker, no nothing. You have to go explore randomly and come across the final mission of the game. You can
Like-
completely miss
That's
this.
Like God of War-
awesome.
God of War 2018, like.
And then
No, God of War 2018 gives you a mission marker.
yeah, not this
Not-
one. I was like, what the fuck? I had to look. I thought my game was broken. I'm like, why am I not getting a marker? I had to look it up. So then another game on my list that I've been wanting to play for a long time is Bayonetta 2, and this game. This game is the shit, bro.
It
This
is
fucking-
one of the best action combat systems in
Yo,
any
the
game.
opening mission of this game is the most bombastic shit I've ever seen in my life. And it is incredible. It keeps that pace throughout the entire game, and it feels so fluid and fun to play. I don't know what
It
you're
is
talking about,
one
that
of-
the story is bad. The story is.
Oh
it's
my
bad.
god. There's no way you're defending the story.
I
It
like
is
the story.
stupid. It picks up at the end. I'll give you that. There's like a good moment like near the end of the game regarding I forgot his name because these characters are forgettable. My issue with Bayonetta's stories is the only characters I like are Bayonetta and Rudon. I
You
don't
don't
like anyone else.
You
in
don't
the
like
stories.
Chef?
Dark, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is Bayonetta 2's story better than Red Dead 1's story?
Yes.
Oh, he's gonna say no. He's gonna say that because he's. I hate this guy. I hate this guy.
No,
point
so
this out right
I
now.
wanted to bring that up because Bayonetta 2 and Red Dead 1 actually have similar story setups, but Bayonetta 2 handled it
No, they
100 times
don't.
better. No, because
Don't. What are
because
you
the thing of-
talking
no,
about?
I'll get into it. Because Bayonetta 2, the story starts out is not really about Bayonetta. The story at first. At first, it's not about Bayonetta. It's about. Well, I'm not gonna get into what it's about because of spoilers. But you just on this path to do something, and it's like that with the Red Dead 1 as well. You're on a path to do something. But Bayonetta 2 weaves her into the story really well, and it even ties. I found this out after. I didn't even notice. Bayonetta 2 is a prequel. I did not know that.
Yeah, of course it is. Come on,
Red
man.
Dead 1.
I-
You can go.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you didn't notice it was a prequel, I don't think that was a very good story. Then
I didn't.
it's like
The way that they did it, it worked really well.
I just know, man. I hate this guy. That story, it's just like my problem. I legitimately only like 2 characters. It's so weird to me because they keep trying to make me care about this one dude. What was his name? Johnny, the fucking camera guy. That weirdo with the grappling hook. It's like Bayonetta's love
Cheshire?
interest.
You don't like Cheshire? Cheshire is dope.
Cheshire? No, not Cheshire.
That's his
Like,
name.
no, like the dude, the like
His name
human
is
guy.
Luca. Yeah, Luca Cheshire.
Luca. I fucking hate Luca. That's it. Luca is so annoying. He's just uninteresting. This weird poser ass motherfucker who keeps trying to think he's as good as Bayonetta. Jean is uninteresting as hell, and she barely even appears in this game. So thank
I mean,
God
yeah,
for that.
but the plot of Bayonetta 2 is they have to go save Jean.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's why. Like,
She barely gets to
because
do
I
screen
didn't,
time.
I didn't like her in one either.
She was okay.
I don't know. I just it's not why I play the game, so I'm not really that bothered by
that's
it. But
fair.
like I'm just annoyed by the fact that like they keep doing all these cutscenes and stuff, and it's like, okay, you know people aren't playing this for the story. Just have like my viewpoint has
They
always been just have a cutscene at the end of the chapter. I don't want like story details in the middle of the chapter. As much as I love the game's combat, it's just like it got to the point where I was close to skipping the cutscenes, which is very rare for me.
I'm like this with Devil May Cry 2, where I get that it's not meant for you like to. It's not it's like the story's not the focus, but I like the story in both of these series. Even
Listen,
Bayonetta
I
1,
like
it wasn't as high as Bayonetta's 1 story as it was with 2, but I like Bayonetta 1 story.
I like Bayonetta. I like what's his name? Devil May Cry story. I actually think because like to me, there's more than just two likable characters in Devil May Cry games. That's why I like the story in those games. But like when your only likable characters are the main protagonist and the shopkeeper, and then everyone else I'm just not interested. Like that short kid. Did you
He's-
like the short kid that like was always
At first
following you around?
because it was really weird. Because I seen him and I immediately thought of Yu-Gi-Oh. So that freaking thingy.
Oh yeah, that's fair
But like
enough.
he grew on me over time. It was pretty cool. I thought
By
they
the
did a
end,
good job of it.
I don't listen. We're at an impasse, a crossroads, if you will.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
really hate that story.
Well,
It's just-
regardless if you like the story and the gameplay of this game more than makes up for it, and I think it's a must
Yeah,
play
that game.
if you like this genre of combat.
When it comes to action combat, like there are few games that match it.
I think like,
absolutely love it.
this is up there with Devil May Cry 5. I gave this game a perfect rating, by the way.
A 10?
Yeah, I gave it a 10.
Ah, well, you lost me there.
Yeah, I'm gonna see my way out. I've never played this game, but I'm a judge from the sideline.
I honestly, Fusion, I'd be interested to see you like play an action game, like a Devil May Cry.
If
or
you
a
hate the
Bayonetta.
story that much,
Yeah, okay, never mind.
like, there's no way I'm going to like that story.
No, I mean,
You
there's action games with good stories. Metal Gear Rising has a god tier story.
Metal
Like, I love this
Gear
part of
writing
the game.
story is one of the best stories.
Is
as a video
Bayonetta
game.
only on Nintendo systems?
So there's
No,
a
you
weird
can get-
situation. You can get
oh,
Bayonetta
actually.
1 on all platforms because that was before. Because Bayonetta 1 didn't sell that well, and then Nintendo came out and they were like, "If you make your games exclusive to us, we'll fund your other games." And that's you can only play 2 and 3 on
Yeah.
the Switch.
Mm.
On
they actually-
Nintendo platforms, because
they're
Bayonetta
on-
on the Wii U.
They run surprisingly well on Switch too.
Yeah, they-
Especially like Bayonetta 3. I was actually kind of surprised by the performance. I was like, oh wow, it actually kind of runs like comparably. Moon, why don't you wrap it up with what you've been playing?
I'll start with what I'm currently playing right now. As of this podcast, I'm playing the Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. I just got it yesterday, so I'm very early still in the game. I've been enjoying it a lot. It's reminding me of both the things I really like about Metroidvanias and the things I really hate about Metroidvanias. So I'll have more thoughts next week. I'm also trying to wait on buying Like a Dragon because that came out today, but I'm not going to get to that because Persona comes out next week. But what else I play? Like I said, I've been playing PalWorld, and then I also played the indie game that came on Game Pass yesterday called Go Mecha Ball, and that's been a lot of fun. That's been like my turn off my brain and just game kind of game because it's a roguelite where you're just a robot. You're a cat in a robot suit, and you just have to fight waves of enemies, and you power up between each wave of enemies. And when you die, you die, and you have to go for another run. And it's just, I don't know. It doesn't have a story like a Hades, but it's giving me the Hades, like it's scratching that Hades itch for me where I'm like, I just want to go for a run or two. And these runs can last a while. Like the last run I had yesterday before I stopped playing, I was in that run for 43 minutes. Like they give you a timer after you die to see how long your run was, and I'm like, oh damn, it did not feel like 43 minutes, but it was a blast through the whole way through. And I love all the power ups so far. The coolest thing about the game though is it's a very unique mechanic where so what you're doing is you switch in and out of ball form, kind of like Samus in Metroid, just by pushing down left trigger. And so while you're out of ball form and mech form, you can shoot all your guns. But when you're in ball form, you roll around the map, and that's another thing that's different from Hades. Hades is a flat level of a room, whereas this has levels, so you have to bounce off springs and go up ramps and whatnot, because there's no jump button. So you're bouncing off ramps and whatnot to get around to multiple levels where enemies are. But the cool thing about being in ball form is you can roll around and then push your attack button, and it gives you like a little boost. And the boost is probably the most powerful weapon in the game, because it can stun enemies, where it's this thing called, I think it's just called stun, where if you attack the enemy in that charged ball attack as they're doing their attack animation, it stuns them, cancels their attack, and then it does like what Doom does, where you attack an enemy, ammo bursts out of them, and sometimes health. Did someone just leave? Oh, Bench left. He doesn't want to hear about my mecha balls.
He's lazy. Ignore him. Continue.
But it's a lot of fun, because it's that Hades mindset, or I guess any kind of roguelike mindset, where you're doing the most optimal thing to either get ammo or health. What you want is health, because it's so rare in that game. Thankfully, you get a shop every few levels, just like in Hades, where you can replenish health or ammo, and then even boss fights also replenish your health, which is really nice, because those boss fights will wreck you if you don't have like the set right abilities or guns when you go into them. So it's a lot of fun. I recommend it. It's on Game Pass if you want like something to scratch your Hades itch, or any kind of roguelite. Like, it's very fast paced. Like, I would argue this is even faster paced than Hades. But just the way
You're
you're
selling me
bouncing
on
around the whole.
this.
What's that?
You're selling me on this. This is actually something it wasn't on my radar because of the busy season, but like this sounds like a nice like kind of like April game where like
Yeah.
there's not a lot to play.
Well, the thing is, though, you're not playing this for the story. You're just playing this for like a Hades. At least has a story for you to have in between all your runs. There's
It's a
been
podcast game.
Yeah, it's a podcast game. It's a watch One Piece. That's what I was also doing
Smart.
with it.
You
So
were stuck in Punk Hazard. I get it.
but yeah, it's just fun gameplay wise. It runs very smooth. I almost think it's higher than 60 frames. So you're running around this hectic battlefield, bouncing around. Because what's also cool is there's bumpers along most of the map. So even if you bounce off the bumper, it's also doing your spin dash attack or your bounce attack or whatever you want to call it. So you're just bouncing and running all around all over the place. It's super hectic. It might even be too fast for you. What's even funny is after playing it a bit, I went back to the trailer and I realized, oh, this trailer is playing in slow mode. Like, it looks a lot slower in the trailer. It's a lot more fast paced in game. Or maybe that's just how I play. I just run around everywhere. So that's going to be my recommendation to everyone: is go try out Go Mecha Ball if you have Game Pass, if you like roguelites. But
Is it
yeah,
on PlayStation or is it Game Pass only? I forget.
I don't know if it released on PlayStation. I would assume it did, but it did go
I'll
day
check it.
one to Game Pass.
I do wonder. I don't know. I love these like day one Game Pass PS Extra indies. It just adds a lot to it. It
No,
gets
it's
you
not on
excited.
PlayStation. It's an Xbox
That must be a
exclusive.
deal.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
actually
it'll
cool.
probably come to PlayStation later.
I forget, Moon. Were you gonna jump on Infinite Wealth? Or are you gonna wait until Persona?
I'm gonna
is
hold
done?
out until at least after Persona, maybe like right after Persona. I don't know why I
Yeah,
want to play Persona first. I mean, I do. Grant,
I mean,
I
it's
probably
Persona. It's your franchise.
well, that, and I think if I wouldn't have gotten Prince of Persia, I probably would have, because that would have at least given me a week with Like a Dragon with Infinite Wealth. But the fact that I'm playing Prince of Persia now is like, okay, I'm just gonna put Infinite Wealth on until after Persona.
I'm starting to maybe tonight. I don't know. It's late, but I'm really fucking excited to start it up.
it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be like a top 3 game for me, I'm sure, for the year.
Oh yeah, I mean, Like a Dragon is so incredible already. I did have that weird thing where I was like, I kind of want to play all the Yakuza games before, but then I'm like, I hate that combat.
Yeah,
I only really
nothing
like
about the
Like a
older
Dragon's
games seemed
combat.
that interesting to me. Maybe I'll play 6, because at least that's like the end of it, so they would have gotten all their gameplay all together and everything. Like, it's like the peak of the
Yeah,
franchise before they changed everything, so maybe at least play 6. I know everyone
Zero.
talks about 0.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I played Zero. That's like one of the last ones with the beat 'em up formula before they switched to Like a Dragon. I still think the combat sucked in that one. So it's just like, I don't know. That's a personal thing, just because I hate beat 'em ups. So they just didn't add it to me. But like, I don't know. there's so many good things about that game. It's just that combat was the thing that did it for me. But I think GameSpot put out a good video, kind of like putting out the history of Kiryu,
Yeah,
which was the
so you like
protagonist
know
of
his
the
whole
series
story.
before Ichiban. Yeah, so like that, and he seems to be an integral part of.
We'll
like,
have a
the
movie
Infinite
night and
Wealth.
we'll all watch it. The
Oh, yeah.
people of us who don't want to play all the games.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out that video tonight. So, but that's all you playing?
Yeah, it's PalWorld, Prince of Persia, and Mecha Ball.
All right, time for outros done. Hit it
All
with
right.
it.
Yeah, so I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Went on a lot longer than I thought it would for a conversation about a company that doesn't have any games on their schedule.
Oh my God! Can we stop with the axe button? This was our episode. Fusion, back me up.
Yeah, you just
Fusion's
wait till the podcast ends, buddy. You'll see
Yeah,
what
I'll
happens
wait.
to you.
He's gonna take me out back. Yeah, don't worry. I'll be excited when we get our state of play and we finally have some games on the
Hey,
schedule.
I
But until
think
then,
you should admit.
What is with these backhanded compliments,
No,
bro?
I
This
think
is
Moon
crazy.
should admit right here, live on podcast, that we are way more fair to PlayStation than he thought we were going to be.
Yeah, we weren't like sucking PlayStation off. Like we were pretty brutal.
you know what it was? It wasn't like sucking them up, but it was a lot of hopium. It's like
Yes,
imagine
but
this
they-
game. Most of your
that's the
sentences
gaming
start with
industry.
of the doubt.
yeah.
They
Imagine
get it.
a lot of your sentences start with "I hope this happens." Let's imagine this happens.
Oh my God, Moon! Can we not have some joy in our lives?
Don't worry, I'll eat my words when the state of play happens and there's like some game they announce. I'm like, oh, this is super exciting. So, but anyway, so we're gonna wrap up here. This has been a long episode. Next week, as I said, we'll be doing Nintendo, which is probably gonna be a lot of like this episode where we're just gonna be doing a lot of hopes and dreams and predictions.
Dude, bro, is editorializing.
So be excited for that because as we talk all things Nintendo next week. So have a good night, everyone. Say good night.
He's okay.
Good night.
Good night. Play more Sony games so they don't go bankrupt.
My name is Bench. Good night. I was too lazy to stay until the end.
I was too drunk, so I passed out.